Chapter 3508. This black tortoise's cultivation was much higher than theirs. It could already stand shoulder to shoulder with sea-splitting realm cultivators. The scariest thing was that its body was extremely huge. When it came out of the water, it was even bigger than the small island. Its long neck stretched out and bit the place where the two of them were just a moment ago. With a cracking sound, the small island actually split from the middle. Lu Juanjia was carried by Lung Yuma's shoulder in the air. Seeing this scene, his face turned pale. If it wasn't for Lung Yuma's vigilance, they would have been bitten into pieces like the rocks on the small island. Yuma, thank you. If it wasn't for... Chill. Silence. Lung Yuma's expression was cold as she shouted. At the same time, she released her divine sense without holding back. On the red lotus soul-stealing saber in her hand, the lotus runes flickered with a dazzling light, faintly discernible. The huge black tortoise below seemed to realize that its prey had escaped. At this moment, it angrily raised its head and stared at the two with bloodthirsty eyes. Suddenly, the black tortoise's head stretched out. Ah! Lu Juanjia only felt a chill on his feet and screamed in fright. Fortunately, Lung Yuma noticed that something was wrong and quickly flew up several feet, narrowly avoiding the black tortoise's attack. However, Lu Juanjia's shoes fell into the sea. A cold tide came from the soles of his feet, almost scaring Lu Juanjia out of his wits. Lung Yuma also had lingering fears. She didn't expect the black tortoise's head to be so high. Suddenly, her mind was filled with an extremely uneasy premonition. Her divine sense clearly didn't detect anything, but Lung Yuma felt that something was wrong. Without hesitation, she activated all the spiritual power in her body and poured it into the red lotus soul-stealing saber. Bang! The blade struck the void, but a huge rebounding force came from it. Lung Yuma flew back dozens of meters. Her internal organs were overturned, and she almost spat out blood. At the place where the saber struck, a fierce beast that looked like a flood dragon slowly appeared. It was staring greedily at the two with a pair of green eyes. This flood dragon's skin was silver blue. Following the movement of its long tail, its figure slowly disappeared. It was not just a disappearance of sight, but also a disappearance of hearing and spiritual sense that could not be detected. Lung Yuma didn't even have time to wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth before she once again raised the red lotus soul-stealing blade. But her heart sank little by little. This flood dragon was stronger than Black Tortoise. It was so strong that she could not sense its real strength. When the Black Tortoise saw the flood dragon, it was so scared that it dived into the sea and didn't dare to come out again. Lung Yuma instinctively felt that she would die here. Lu Juanjia said with a trembling voice, "Will we die here? Yuma, it's all my fault. You, throw me into the sea and run away." "Shut up," Lung Yuma roared and slashed with the long saber in her hand. The blazing flames drew a beautiful arc in the air. However, it didn't hit. She couldn't find any trace of the flood dragon. A cold and damp aura, mixed with a pungent fishy smell, slowly surrounded the two of them. When Lung Yuma finally sensed the location of the flood dragon, it was the moment when he opened his bloody mouth, revealing his sharp teeth and greedy eyes. Even Lung Yuma's eyes showed despair, but it was only for a moment. That bit of weakness was replaced by a determination without regret. She released Lu Juanjia's hand without hesitation and let him fall into the sea. Chapter 3509. The red flame turned into a lotus, and the figure of the woman in red merged with the long saber. Lung Yuma's eyes were filled with determination. Since there was no way out, she had to fight with her life on the line. Even if there were no bones left, at least she did not cower. The flood dragon slowly revealed its body that covered the sky. It looked at the lowly human who dared to resist and revealed a mocking expression. Its huge claws stretched out, and in an instant it could grab the weak body and crush it into meat paste. It liked to listen to the mournful wails of its prey in its claws and mouth. However, just as the flood dragon's claws were about to stretch out, its body suddenly froze. Its huge eyeballs moved stiffly. Finally, it landed in front of Lung Yuma. A little monk wearing a golden-red kasaya had appeared there. A pair of pitch-black, bottomless eyes was quietly looking at it. The golden alms bowl in his hand emitted a faint light. The flood dragon's body instinctively trembled. It had a fear of the golden alms bowl from the depths of its soul. Ba, the little monk softly said. A cinnabar quietly appeared between his eyebrows. It made the originally pure, and holy face inexplicably have a bit of evil aura that made people tremble. The deep, sonorous voice of the Buddhist Dharma flowed out from his opened and closed lips. A red light shot out from the golden alms bowl and directly pierced the flood dragon's eyebrows. A mournful scream resounded through the sky. The seawater below violently surged, setting off raging waves. The huge beasts under the sea desperately hid in the depths of the sea. They were as quiet as cicadas in winter, shivering in fear. Finally, the body of the screaming dragon disappeared, and there was a small silver-blue snake in the golden alms bowl of the little monk. However, it only lasted for a moment before it disappeared into the golden alms bowl. The little monk slowly turned around and looked at the pale girl with bloodstains at the corner of her mouth. He slightly lowered his head and said, Ba, Benefactor Lung, are you all right? Before he could finish his sentence, he saw the body of the person in front of him sway slightly. She directly fell into the sea. Yuma. The little monk's expression changed. Without thinking, he rushed over and hugged her. Are you badly injured? Jing Yuan did not realize that his voice was trembling in panic. However, as soon as he said that, he realized that something was wrong. The girl in his arms looked at him with a faint smile. Although he was indeed injured, it wasn't to the point where he couldn't even fly. Little monk, when did you start following me in secret? Jing Yuan's face instantly turned red. After a long while, he stammered, Little monk, I'm not. Halfway through his sentence, he realized that he was still hugging Lung Yuma. Their bodies were so close to each other. He was so close that he could clearly feel her warmth. There was also the feeling of his fingertips hugging her tightly. Even if they were separated by clothes, it was impossible to ignore. Jing Yuan hurriedly tried to loosen his grip. I was rude. Unexpectedly, Lung Yuma grabbed his clothes and said weakly, My spiritual power has been exhausted. Are you going to throw me into the sea if you let go of me? Jing Yuan, who was about to let go, suddenly tightened his grip. This time it was too tight. It was so tight that it seemed like it wanted to directly knead people into its bones and blood. Lung Yuma could not help but groan. Jing Yuan's face, which was already red, seemed to be burning. At the same time, he could not suppress his rapid heartbeat and heavy breathing. Chapter 35:10. Remember in 1 second. 800 mail sign /say net there was no pop-up window for free reading. Lung Yuma saw that he was at a loss. He didn't know why, but her mood, which had been suppressed for a few days, became incomparably happy at this moment. She burst out laughing. If you want to put me down, you have to bring me to an island or land so that I can have my feet on the ground and recuperate, right? Jing Yuan pursed his lips. He held her firmly with both hands and landed on the island. Yuma, are you okay? When the two of them landed, Lu Juanjia also climbed out of the sea. Seeing that Lung Yuma was safe and sound, tears almost flowed out of his eyes. He really thought that the two of them were going to be buried in the sea. Lu Juanjia's voice stopped abruptly. He stared at Jing Yuan, who was carrying Lung Yuma, with his eyes wide open. He was stunned for a long time before he stammered. You. How can you carry Miss Yuma? Put her down quickly. Jing Yuan slightly lowered his eyes, concealing the divine light in the bottom of his eyes. The hand that was carrying Lung Yuma let go and carefully placed her on the ground. Only then did Lu Juanjia realize that the person who was carrying Lung Yuma was a monk. Thus, the jealousy and anger in his heart mostly disappeared. He crawled to Lung Yuma's side and asked nervously, Yuma, are you okay? I'm sorry, I'm too useless. If it wasn't for protecting me, you might have been able to escape alone and wouldn't have been injured. Hearing Lu Juanjia's words, Jing Yuan's hand that was holding the golden alms bowl slightly tightened. His thin lips were pursed into a straight line. Lu Juanjia had already taken out a silk handkerchief and wanted to wipe the blood at the corner of Lung Yuma's mouth. Lung Yuma avoided it and suddenly raised her head and called out, "Little monk." Jing Yuan turned around and looked over. His gaze inadvertently swept past Lu Juanjia, who was very close to her. In the next moment, his pupils suddenly shrank, because he saw Lung Yuma's hand pressing on the back of Lu Juanjia's neck in an extremely familiar and natural manner. A wave of hostility that he had not felt for a long time rose from the depths of his heart. It was almost about to turn into a monstrous anger that completely engulfed his rationality. This fellow is too much of a hindrance. However, Lung Yuma's next sentence startled him. "Do you have any way to send him to a safe place first? Then we can think of a way to bring him out of the chaotic heaven cave together." "I don't want to." Lu Juanjia panicked. "How can I leave you behind?" Lung Yuma glanced at him. "Who was the one who said that he was a burden to me? Are you not leaving because you want to continue staying here and drag me down?" Lu Juanjia revealed an ashamed expression. Then he couldn't help but say, "Since this master can send me to a safe place, he can also send you there. Yuma, can we leave this place together? I'll take you back to see my great-grandfather." Lung Yuma shook her head expressionlessly. "No, my senior and junior brothers are still in the chaotic heaven cave abode. When I was fighting with the flood dragon just now, although it was extremely dangerous, I sensed a familiar aura when the sea churned. Maybe my fellow disciples are nearby. How can I leave without finding them? Most importantly, how is she going to woo the little monk if this naive fellow stayed here?" That's right, meeting Jing Yuan again this time. Lung Yuma had already made up her mind. Fuck his rules and precepts. She regretted not meeting him earlier. Lung Yuma had lived for more than 20 years, but this was the first time she felt moved. Since God let her meet and reunite with the little monk, it meant that they were destined to be together. So what if he was a monk? Chapter 35:11. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign /say, net there was no pop-up window for free reading. A monk could also return to asceticism, which Heavenly Tao stipulated that a monk could not fall in love and get married. Lung Yuma's mind was full of thoughts, but her face was serious and abnormally serious. A pair of deep eyes made Lu Juanjia lower his head guiltily. He no longer dared to be unreasonable. Lung Yuma then looked at Jing Yuan with a pleading look in her eyes. "Little monk, can you do it?" She was calculating in her mind. If the little monk said that he couldn't do it, or that he didn't want to be alone with her, she would have to think of some reason to send the third wheel away. Well, she had heard the word third wheel from Bai Xie. As for whether the little monk could do it or not, Lung Yuma didn't think about this question at all. Jing Yuan quickly gave her an answer. "Ba, please wait a moment." As soon as he finished speaking, another slender and powerful hand had already replaced Lung Yuma's hand, grabbed Lu Juanjia's collar, and disappeared. Lung Yuma blinked her eyes. Why did she feel that the little monk sounded so happy just now? Was it an illusion? Lung Yuma pursed her lips and secretly curled up the corners of her mouth. She took out a healing elixir and swallowed it, then sat cross-legged and meditated. In fact, what he said to Lu Juanjia was not entirely a lie. During the battle with the flood dragon, she did hear a distant and hazy voice. There seemed to be a familiar aura coming from the bottom of the sea. At this time, she meditated with rapt attention, and the surroundings became quiet. That voice once again came to her ears. "Red Lotus, soul, stealing evil spirit. Wu Shang's soul, breaking sorrow. I only hope that the soul of Wu Shang will stay in the world forever." Wu Shang Palace. This was the old voice that she had heard in Wu Shang Palace. Could it be that there was also a Wu Shang Palace at the bottom of the sea in the Heaven Chaos Cave abode? Lung Yuma suddenly opened her eyes. Then she saw a pair of pitch-black eyes. The little monk was about to grab her hand. She didn't know whether he was healing her or checking her physical condition. But because Lung Yuma woke up and her body suddenly leaned forward, The distance between the two suddenly became extremely close. Lung Yuma could feel the man's warm and moist breath on her lips. Everything around them seemed to have quieted down. Just like that, the two of them held hands and stared into each other's eyes. Lung Yuma said softly, "You're back so soon?" Only then did Jing Yuan come to his senses. He took a few steps back in a sorry state. It took him a long time to stabilize his mind. He lowered his eyes and said in a low voice, "Benefactor Liu is sleeping in a safe place. When a gap appears in the boundary of the cave abode, he will automatically leave this place." "Who asked him?" Lung Yuma chuckled. "I mean, why did you rush back in such a hurry?" Even his breathing was a little labored. "Is it because you're worried that I'll be in danger here?" Jing Yuan's face blushed all the way to his ears. The more Lung Yuma looked at the little monk's embarrassed look, the more she liked him. She propped up her cheeks and admired the little monk's handsome eyes and delicate and flawless skin. She softly said, "Hey, little monk, that day outside the soul cultivation pool, I clearly saw you come back. Why did you suddenly run away? Did you really come here just to talk nonsense with me?" Jing Yuan lowered his eyes and said nothing. Lung Yuma was a little disappointed. "Did you really come here just to talk nonsense with me?" Jing Yuan raised his head and glanced at her. He tried to look calm, but his tight hands on his side betrayed his current mood. "Is the man who is hugging you your real husband?" Chapter 35:12. In just 1 second, he had memorized it all. There was no pop-up window for free reading. Lung Yuma was stunned. A man in a hug? Which man? Suddenly, she came back to her senses. "You mean Xiao Qi?" "Uffed. How could he be my husband? He's our Xiao Yao school's junior brother. When I first joined the Xiao Yao sect, he was still a little kid who hadn't reached adulthood yet. If I choose anyone as my husband, I won't eat the tender grass next to my nest, right?" Jing Yuan raised his head and looked at her in the eyes. He thought to himself, so that man is not Yumo's lover, but her junior brother. It was something that had nothing to do with him. But he couldn't stop the corner of his mouth from curling up. Lung Yuma looked at his expression that seemed to have dissipated. She suddenly thought of something and a big smile blossomed on her face. "Little monk, you left without saying goodbye that day. Could it be that you're jealous?" "No, I... Jing Yuan was speechless and flustered. He didn't know if he should deny it or refute it. The blush on his fair and tender face didn't fade. For the first time, Lung Yuma experienced what Bai Xie said. Her heart exploded like fireworks. She had always been carefree and didn't know what it was to be shy. At this moment, she pursed her lips and lowered her head. She didn't know what to say. Rumble, a voice that spoiled the mood, came from her stomach. Lung Yuma's body stiffened. She was so depressed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. What the hell? It wasn't easy for her to leave a good impression on the little monk. But she came here to embarrass herself. It was all that stupid turtle's fault. Couldn't he wait until she was full before coming here? Lung Yuma coughed and wanted to change the topic. But when she raised her head, she saw Jing Yuan's gentle and shy eyes. The little monk said in a low voice, "Wait for me." Wait for him. Lung Yuma looked at him in a daze. The little monk formed a sword with his fingers and slashed at the sea. The next moment, a wave appeared on the sea. A few fat fish and prawns floated up and landed beside them. Jing Yuan took out a fire crystal furnace from his storage space and boiled a pot of water. His hands were already neatly processing the fish and prawns. "Jing Yuan, what are you doing?" Lung Yuma quickly stopped him. Aren't you a monk?" Jing Yuan raised his head to look at her, his long eyelashes fluttering, revealing a somewhat puzzled expression. Lung Yuma was stunned by the handsome face in front of her. After a while, she swallowed her saliva and said, "Aren't monks not allowed to kill?" Jing Yuan chuckled. "My sect doesn't have such a rule. Master himself is a vegetarian, but he doesn't force us. Although I haven't eaten meat for many years since I joined the sect, I can still prepare it for you." Lung Yuma slowly loosened her grip. She watched as the little monk skillfully processed the fish and obediently waited at the side. "Little monk, if your master doesn't force you to be a vegetarian, then can you marry and have children?" Jing Yuan's hand that was processing the fish paused. After a long while, he said in a voice so low that it was almost inaudible, This little monk doesn't know. No one in the temple has ever married and had children." Lung Yuma smiled, and her voice carried a softness and expectation that had never been heard before. "Then why don't you go back and ask? What if your master agrees to you marry? If he doesn't agree, then you can beg him?" Jing Yuan lowered his head so that no one could see his expression. However, his exposed ears were so red that they seemed to be dripping water. Chapter 35:13. Just when Lung Yuma thought that he would not answer, she heard the little monk whisper Lung Yuma felt that there were 10,000 fireworks blooming in her heart. She really wanted to jump up and shout at the sea in front of her. She wanted to dance for joy, to vent the joy in her heart. Reserved. Lung Yuma, you must be reserved. What if the little monk that she finally caught was scared away? When she finally calmed down, she saw the little monk's pair of slender, well-proportioned, jade-like hands that were usually not stained with blood, handling the smelly and dirty fish and prawns. She was reluctant to part with him. She grabbed the little monk's hand. "Don't cook. I have dry rations. I can deal with it." Even if the little monk's hands were not chanting, they should be clean without being shrouded in Buddha's light. How could he handle these smelly fish and prawns? Jing Yuan raised his head and looked at her. His long eyelashes drooped. Even if he tried his best, he could not stop the corners of his mouth from curling up. "Little monk, before I became master's disciple, I wandered alone for many years. These are the things that I can do." After a pause, he said, "My skills are not bad. In the future, I can also cook for you every day. You don't have to eat other people's cooking." Lung Yuma was stunned for a while before she reacted. Jing Yuan repeated what Lu Juanjia said before. It turned out that he was not only protecting her from afar. He even heard the conversation between her and Lu Juanjia. Not only did he hear it, he was also jealous. Lung Yuma even had a sweet smile on her face. "Okay, I will only eat little monk's cooking in the future." Jing Yuan's face became even redder. The curve of his mouth became even higher. The sunlight fell on the side of his face, illuminating the little monk's white and crimson skin. He was obviously a man, but his skin was better than hers. There was not a single flaw on his face. How could there be such a handsome, shy, and adorable little monk in this world? Every strand and every inch seemed to be tailor-made according to his wishes. An impulse came to her mind. Lung Yuma suddenly leaned over and lightly kissed the little monk's face. Jing Yuan stopped what he was doing and raised his head abruptly. Those pitch-black eyes stared at her in a daze. From clear to murky, from confusion to passion. Being stared at by those eyes, Lung Yuma's face started to burn up. She suppressed her shyness and panic, turned her head, and avoided the man's gaze. "What are you looking at? If you don't look at the fire, the water will dry up." However, even if he didn't turn around to look, that scorching gaze didn't leave his body for even a moment. Just when Lung Yuma couldn't take it anymore and was about to turn around, the ground beneath his feet shook violently. What happened? Lung Yuma was startled. Then she felt a pair of strong hands around her waist, and her body suddenly rose into the air. The island below, which had already been bitten apart by the black tortoise, was now crumbling. Lung Yuma exclaimed, "You made fish soup." He heard a low chuckle. This time, the small monk's voice was no longer pure and holy. Instead, it was an inexplicable deep magnetism that was like a feather tickling one's heart. Lung Yuma only felt her ears heat up. Then she saw the fish soup, along with the fire crystal pot, fly into the small monk's sleeve. The correct chapter of Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby's black-bellied father, will continue to be updated on Qingdou. There will be no advertisements on the site. Everyone, please bookmark and recommend Qingdou. Chapter 35:14. Jing Yuan said gently, "Aren't you going to look for your fellow apprentices? I see that your saber has the aura of Wushang Palace. This sea region is shaking, which is a sign that Wushang Palace is about to open. Are you unwilling to leave this sea region because you want to find the entrance to Wushang Palace?" Lung Yuema looked at Jing Yuan in admiration. Back when they were in the soul cultivation pool, she already knew that the little monk was not simple, but she didn't expect him to be so complicated. Oh, he was pleasing to the eye and powerful, as expected of the man she fancied. Being stared at by her undisguised gaze, Jing Yuan's thin face blushed again. But this time, he didn't let go of the person in his arms in a panic. Instead, he hugged her tighter. There are many dangerous checkpoints in Wushang Palace. Can I accompany you? Lung Yuema searched for his slender hand. Under the little monk's bewildered gaze, she interlocked her fingers with his. What's there to ask? It wasn't easy for me to catch you. Do you think I'll allow you to escape? The island below sank to the bottom of the sea, but a huge whirlpool appeared on the surface of the sea. A huge pulling force came from below. The two of them did not resist and dived into the sea. Lung Yuma's ears once again rang with a familiar and distant old voice. It was like a call and a prayer from ancient times. 1,000 lifetimes and 100 lifetimes, the rise and fall of fate. Touched by your hot-bloodedness, I invite you to enter Wushang Palace to accept the test and gift. Mu Yan, be careful. Ningyu shouted and rushed over, wanting to pull the figure that was falling into the abyss. However, he was still a step too late. Disregarding everything, his outstretched hand only grabs the corner of Mayan's clothes. With a tearing sound, the figure fell straight down into the abyss. Ningyu jumped down without a second thought. In the end, he crashed into a barrier. Before Ningyu could figure out what had happened, the ground, which had cracked open for no reason, slowly closed again. The magical plants were still attacking her with their leaves. Everything seems to be no different from when Mayan was suddenly swallowed up by the rift. Ningyu's expression darkened. She waved her hand and chopped the demonic plants around her into pieces. She stood in the same place for a long time before slowly lowering her head to look at the bell hanging on her waist. Jun Mayan can't die. He had to leave the Chaos Heaven abode immediately and return to the Ning family. Ningyu frowned, suddenly grabbed the blood vein bell and threw it into the air. The flying bell made a pleasant tinkling sound. As it flew higher and higher, a red light was emitted from the bell. The surrounding air rippled like the surface of a lake with a stone thrown into it. Ningyu flew up and entered the ripples in the air, slowly disappearing. Ningyu's figure slowly appeared in the nine-tailed dragon sunflower field. Realizing that she had indeed come out of the heaven-mixing cave unscathed, she breathed a long sigh of relief. Master, you felt it too, right? There's the aura of yin-yang twin hearts down there. Moreover, Mei Yin and the others seem to be inside as well. Waha, that's great. Mei Yin is indeed Master's strongest luck. A strange and excited voice came from the flower field, causing Ningyu to turn her head to look. She almost sucked in a breath of cold air when she saw what it was. She saw a young man wearing a crescent moon robe standing in the middle of the golden flower field. It's not that Ningyu hadn't seen handsome men in the past, but compared to the person in front of her, it's really like comparing fireflies to the bright moon or rubble to beautiful jade. Chapter 35:15. She was elegant and graceful, like a celestial being. Could there really be a man in this world who was so beautiful that he could shake people's hearts and minds? Ningyu was in a trance. She heard the shrill voice ring out again. Master, what are you doing? Why don't we go to the Heaven Chaos Cave? Do you want to avoid meeting Mei Yin again? I don't know who came all the way to this damn place before he recovered. Besides, didn't you just hear? It's very dangerous in the Heaven Chaos Cave. Aren't you afraid that Mei Yin and the others will be in danger? Ningyu didn't realize it until now. The one who spoke was a very strange spiritual pet on the young man's shoulder. The man, who was expressionless just now, couldn't help frowning slightly after hearing the last words of the spiritual pet. A trace of worry flashed across his eyes. For the first time, Ningyu knew that a man's frown could make people's hearts tighten and make them want to give all the treasures in the world to him. It sounded like this person was worried about someone trapped in the chaotic Heaven Cave abode. She had just come out of there. Maybe she could provide him with some help. Thinking of this, Ningyu couldn't help stepping forward ready to strike up a conversation. However, the next moment, she saw a flash of light and shadow in front of her. The young man and the strange spiritual pet on his shoulder disappeared without a trace. Ningyu suddenly beat her chest and stamped her feet. Ah, a peerlessly handsome man. He didn't even get a chance to say a word before he brushed past him. First, miss, you came out of the heaven-mixing cave mansion so soon? It wasn't until the voice of her personal maid came to her ears that Ningyu came to her senses and let out a long sigh. Alas, forget it. No matter how beautiful the handsome man was, it was not as important as Mayan. She had to go home and report to her father as soon as possible. Miss, are you going back to the main family? The little maid, Qing Kei, who was disguised as a man like Ningyu, but her real gender could be seen at a glance, showed a surprised expression when she heard Ningyu's plan. Miss, didn't you say that if you don't reach the peak of the sea-splitting realm, you will always be outside to gain experience and not go back to the main family? Ningyu shook her head and said, plans can't keep up with changes. This time, something happened in the Heaven Chaos Cave, and I must inform my father as soon as possible. What is more urgent than Mrs. Goal? The Blue Sparrow was even more baffled. She knew her young Mrs. character very well. He was famous for being stubborn in many aspects, especially when it came to cultivation. Back then, she made a bet with her master that she would not return to the Ning family until she reached the peak of the sea-splitting realm. No matter how dangerous it was, no matter how much hardship he had to endure outside, he would never go back. But now, they were going back to the main family? What exactly happened in the chaotic Heaven Cave Mansion? Ningyu gently stroked the blood-striped bell on her waist and said in a low voice, in the Heaven-mixing cave, someone touched the blood-striped bell, but did not suffer any backlash. She even left her spiritual chi mark on the blood-striped bell. What? Qing Kei suddenly widened her eyes and revealed an extremely shocked expression. Miss, you mean? The corner of Ningyu's mouth curled up, her eyes showing some doubt and expectation. The blood pattern bell. Even in the main Ning family, only the purest bloodline can touch it. Not to mention the side branches. Even those cousins with mixed bloodlines would be hurt and rejected by the blood pattern bell. Only those who truly belong to the direct bloodline of the Ning family could touch the blood pattern bell without suffering any backlash. The error-free chapter of Chapter 35:16. I suspect that there is still a direct descendant of the Ning family in this world. Without waves and waves, the vast golden spear leaves the dead. The mandate of heaven, the knot of fate. Welcome, bang. Her body falls heavily to the ground, interrupting the heavy sound in her ears. Mu Yin touches her confused head from the fall and tries her best to get up from the ground. She touches her nose with lingering fear and steps on the ground under her feet. The ground is not hard bluestone, but soft like a mattress. Fortunately, it is soft and elastic. Otherwise, she would be caught off guard and unable to use her spiritual power. Even if she doesn't fall to her death, she will definitely be disfigured. But what is this ground made of? As she gets closer, she can smell a strange aroma of food, making people unable to help but want to eat. The little chick is already happily bouncing and rolling on the ground. Huang Huang. Hearing Mu Yan's call, the little chick rolls back, raises its head, and opens its big eyes. Gajiji. Mom, are you calling Huang Huang? Mu Yan. Did you hear a voice mentioning Wushang Palace just now? The little chick tilts its head. Did I? I think I did. Mu Yin picks it up, looks around, and asks, Wushang Palace, don't you have any impression of this name? Did you forget where you came from? Gajiji? The little chick blinks its big eyes, looking confused. Gujijigu Gujijiji. Huang Wang is Mom's son. Of course Mom and Dad gave birth to it. Mu Yan's mouth twitches. She really wants to tell this stupid chicken that she and Di Ming Ju are people, and no matter what, they can't give birth to a chicken. But when she meets those clear eyes, she swallows it back. Fine. A chicken's son is a chicken's son. Anyway, she has raised all kinds of naughty children. It doesn't matter if she has a chicken. Mu Yin puts the little chick down and lets it play on its own. while she begins to explore the surroundings. Obviously, this is a palace, but the layout is very strange. The ground is soft, and there are strange things that smell delicious. The tables, chairs, and even the windows in the room seem to exude a strong, sweet fragrance. Crack! A strange sound could be heard. Mu Yin turned around and saw that the little chick had bitten off a corner of the table and was happily munching on it. Huang Wang, what are you eating? Mu Yin is startled. Isn't this stupid son of mine a little too open-minded? How dare they eat and drink in a place like this? Little Inghua, G, Ao, Ao, Ao. Mommy, this is delicious. It's so sweet. You should eat it too. Saying that, he uses his little wings to forcefully break off another corner of the table and hands it to Mu Yin. Mu Yin takes it with a frown. She looks at it suspiciously, then brings it close to her nose and sniffs it. A rich, sweet aroma of pastries wafted over. But it was different from the pastries she had eaten before. Crack! Crack! Little Inghua ate even more happily, calling out, "This is too delicious." It made Mu Yan's stomach rumble, and she couldn't help but want to have a taste. However, at this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from afar. Mu Yan's heart trembled, and she shouted, "Huang Wang, come back!" Before she could finish speaking, the door was already smashed open. Several tall figures rushed in, and the one in the lead grabbed the little chick, then turned around and left. Wah-ah! Chapter 35:17. Let me go. Mom, save me, save me. Mu Yin is shocked. She soars into the air, trying to catch the little chick. Put the chicken down. The tall man holding the little chick turns back and slaps his palm. Bang! The two forces collide, and Mu Yin takes several steps back. By the time she managed to regain her footing and was about to chase after them, the figures and the little chick had already disappeared down the long walkway. She can still vaguely hear the little chick's mournful screams in the distance. Ah! Gugga gugga g. Scoundrel, let me go. I want my mom. Mu Yin massages her numb arm, her brows tightly knit together. Just now, if she's not mistaken, those who took away the little chick don't seem to be human. But humanoid puppets? Who let them take Huang Wang? What do they want? The turbulent spiritual power in her body slowly calms down after adjusting her breathing. Mu Yin doesn't hesitate anymore and immediately chases along the corridor. However, the end of the corridor is a dead end. It was a thick wall without any traps. Rumble. The ground under her feet shakes violently, and a terrible sound comes from behind. Mu Yin turned around and saw a huge boulder that almost filled the entire walkway rapidly rolling toward her. Fuck! This is cutting off her escape route. Chiju unsheathes his sword and slashes at the wall in front of him, but the wall doesn't move. He slashes at the boulder rolling behind her, but it doesn't slow down at all. The rolling boulder is getting closer and closer to her. 10, 9, 8, 7. It's not that there's no way, but in a short time, she can't even use her Shun musician skills. Zhu Mu Yin, step back. Qi Huang's cold voice comes to her ears. Then, a tall figure in red appears in front of Mu Yan's eyes. A thick black fog was vaguely emitted from his body. Boom! After a loud noise, a hole is broken in the blue stone wall in front of her. But it's only a hole, and it begins to close again. Qi Huang turned around and pulled Mu Yin, directly passing through the hole. Mu Yin leans against the wall, gasping for breath. Seeing the youngster in red standing in front of her, she quickly says, Qi Huang, go back to the space. The youth in front of him slowly turned around. His handsome face looked strangely pale in the dim light of the palace. But his thin lips were red, as if they were smeared with blood. The corner of his mouth slowly hooks up, condescendingly looking at Mayan. Go back. Why would I want to go back to that godforsaken place and continue living in isolation? 7 brilliances. Only then does Mu Yin discover that Qi Huang's current expression is very strange. Qi Xiao Wang was supposed to be arrogant, cocky, and conceited. He was definitely not as sinister, mocking, high and mighty as he seemed to loathe everything in the world. Qi Huang, what happened? Qi Huang stares blankly, his face revealing a pained expression. He mutters in a low voice, Junmayan, it's me. Hurry back to the Tian Mo Chin space. Qi Huang pressed his fingers against his temples, the veins on the back of his hands bulging. Go back. I must go back. Immediately, but very quickly, wisps of black energy curled around his body. The hand on his forehead slowly lowers, and Qi Huang's face shows a cold expression. Junmayan, I really didn't expect that you could influence me to this extent. It seems that I can't let you live any longer. Muyan's pupils contract. An inexplicable shiver welled up in her heart, making her instinctively want to retreat. The error-free chapter of the Enchantress of the Magic Doctor, Heaven-Defying Baby's black-bellied father, will continue to be updated on Qingdou. There are no advertisements on the site. Everyone, please collect and recommend Qingdou. Chapter 35:18. However, without waiting for Mu Yin to act, cold fingers wrapped around her neck without a sound. Qi Huang's sneering face was right in front of him. Mu Yan's voice trembles. Qi Xiaowang, you want to kill me? The hand on her neck trembled. Seven Brilliance's body trembled violently, and his expression was one of insanity. No, you can't hurt Mu Yin. I will never allow anyone to hurt Junmayan. He loosens his grip on Mu Yan's neck and ruthlessly plunges it into Qi Huang's body. Qi Huang laughed sinisterly. If you want to kill her, then we'll perish together. Qi Huang. Mu Yan reaches out to support the youth's swaying body. Seven Brilliance abruptly took several steps back. Don't come over. His face seemed to be split in two. The other half was a strong killing intent. The other half was to protect at all costs. His chest, which had been pierced through, was bleeding profusely. Qi Huang's face became paler and paler, and his figure gradually faded. The lingering black qi was getting thicker and thicker. The bad premonition in Mu Yan's heart is getting stronger and stronger. She no longer cares about Qi Huang's warning and quickly takes out the Tian Mo Chin. The sound of the zither reverberated in the spacious palace. Stabilizing soul activated. Star domain activated. Floating like a dream activated. The black gas surrounding Qi Huang was blown away by the gusts of wind caused by the sound of the zither. However, Mu Yin did not have the slightest bit of confidence in her heart. She had never been clear about what Seven Brilliance was. Tian Mo Chin's device spirit? No, that was not all. Mine has been in the cultivation world for a long time now, and it's not like she hasn't seen a tool spirit before. Magic treasures and artifact spirits were usually one. Which tool spirit would be like Qi Huang, almost like a separate entity from the Tian Mo Chin. Moreover, Mayan can vaguely feel that there's a creature inside the Tian Mo Chin that has already half opened its spiritual awareness. This is the true spirit of the Tian Mo Chin. Moreover, this artifact spirit was extremely afraid of Seven Brilliance. Diming Ju already knows about his identity as a Shun musician. Both sides were well aware of this. Qi Huang didn't care about this matter, but he warns Mayan again and again. He must not let anyone know of his existence. According to Bailey Inlo's last words, the Shun musicians are the enemies of the entire Xioshin continent, the evil demon that was condemned by the masses. Diming Ju doesn't even care about his own identity. Why couldn't he let him know of Seven Brilliance's existence? It was as if there was a dense fog shrouding Seven Brilliance. It was terrifying, but it was also inexplicable. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of the zither rose sharply and stopped abruptly. Mu Yan's eyes widen as she looks at the scene in front of her in disbelief. It's so strange that she can hardly breathe. Qi Huang's hand, which had been clasping her throat, was suddenly grabbed by the wrist and pulled away a few inches. This turn of events made Qi Huang turn his head and meet a pair of eyes that were as black as ink. The next moment, his pupils constricted. The smile at the corner of his mouth was like the most beautiful blood-red spider lilies blooming brilliantly. Luo Yun Xiao, the youngster's low voice was filled with temptation, coldness, and wickedness that made people feel cold all over. Luo Yunxiao, we will meet again someday. Before he finished speaking, Qi Huang's body slowly disappeared. Mayan probes the space inside the Tian Mo Qin with her divine sense, and finds that Qi Huang has already fallen asleep on the grass. His body was no longer shrouded in black qi. Only then does she breathe a sigh of relief. She turns her gaze to the other person who stayed behind. Even though her heart is full of astonishment and doubt, she couldn't help but smile at this time. Young martial uncle, why are you here? Charming enchantress, heaven-defying baby, black-bellied dad, please collect. Chapter 35:19. Luo Yunxiao withdrew her hand, but the seriousness in her eyes did not recede. His pitch-black eyes stare fixedly at Mayan, and he asks in a low voice, "Who was that just now?" Muyan's face shows an awkward expression. Seven Brilliance's identity could not be casually revealed. Otherwise, she wouldn't have refused to even tell Di Mingju. However, little martial uncle had just seen Qi Huang. How was she going to explain? Mayan purses her lips. Young martial uncle, I don't want to deceive you. But sorry, I can't say. He heard her saying, I don't want to lie to you. Luo Yunxiao's eyes softened. However, his expression was still calm as he said, do you want to keep someone who will harm you by your side? Screw you. Whether I stay by Mayan's side or not is none of your business. Before Mu Yin could answer, she hears Qi Huang's weak but exasperated voice in her ear. Using his divine sense, he could see that Qi Xiaohuang's face was pale and his body was not as solid as before. However, her pair of phoenix eyes were clear, and her expression was proud and irritable. There was no longer the evil feeling that made people feel a chill down their spines. Mayan happily asks, Qi Huang, are you all right? Qi Huang hangs his eyes down, his hands clenching into tight fists. Rest assured, in the space of the Tian Mo Qin, do you think he can suppress me? Dream on. Who was he? Mu Yin is puzzled, but she is also relieved. She raised her head and looked at Luo Yunxiao. Little martial aunt, don't worry. I'm fine now. Luo Yunxiao took a deep look at her, deep in thought. But in the end, he didn't ask anything. Mu Yin said excitedly, Youngest martial uncle, why did you also come to the Heaven Mixing Cave? Did you get involved by accident? Apart from eldest brother and third brother, the other members of the Xiao Yao school are also in the Immortals Cave. That way, we can meet again. There's no need to tell them that I've been here. Luo Yunxiao said in a deep voice, I have something to do, so I'll leave first. Be careful. Wait. Although she already knew that junior martial uncle always comes and goes in a hurry every time, Mayan still stares blankly at his words. Then she feels a sense of loss in her heart. They didn't know when it started, but the distance between little martial uncle and them was getting further and further apart. It was as if he was deliberately avoiding them. Little martial uncle, this is for you. He was afraid that Luo Yunxiao would disappear at the slightest disagreement. Mu Yin promptly handed over the yin-yang egg that she had hidden for a long time. I heard eldest brother say that there are 10 things inside that you are looking for. She smiled, her eyes filled with gentleness and expectation. I hope it will be of help to you, youngest martial uncle. As she spoke, she activated the yin-yang egg. It revealed the treasures that had been properly stored inside. Luo Yunxiao's hands, which were hidden in his sleeves, couldn't help but tremble. The suppressed emotions in his heart surged like waves, unable to be suppressed. After a long time, he reached out and slowly opened the yin-yang egg. 10 priceless treasures that were hard to find in the world. No matter which one of the 12 evils of Dutian was released, everyone in the world would fight to the death for it, even though they had already met in the Tianguang ruins. He had also heard the words that the girl said unconsciously. At this moment, he could not help but feel the tumbling emotions in his heart. He didn't know if it was gratitude, admiration, desire, or unwillingness. Or it could be said that he knew he shouldn't have it, but he just couldn't help but desire it. A heart-wrenching despair. Luo Yunxiao closed his eyes and said in a hoarse voice, Do you know the value of these things? When this soul mysterious sea ice is mixed into the ice soul sword, It can directly upgrade a heavenly divine tool to a sacred ancestor tool. Chapter 35:20. The 3-star stone can create a unique puppet at the Dominator level. It can protect a city with the cosmic star formation. Even an army can't break through it. Mu Yin chuckled. Junior Master, I've already shown the things in the yin-yang egg to my fellow apprentices. Everyone is happy, but it's a pity that we can't give them to you right away. The mysterious sea ice soul, the 3-star stone, the great array of stars. These are indeed rare treasures in the world, but how can they compare with the youngest uncle of our Xiaoyao sect? Her voice became lower and lower. When she raised her head, there was a trace of sadness in her eyes. There's one thing that I'm afraid you don't know. Master is dead. Luo Yunxiao's pupil shrank. How? Who killed Shiqing? His eyes, which had always been indifferent, were instantly tainted with a strong and cold killing intent. It was extremely rare for Luo Yunxiao to show such strong emotions. It showed how special the Xiaoyao sect was to her. Mu Yin took a step forward and once again handed over the yin-yang egg in her hand. We've killed the person who killed Master and avenged him. But what's the use? Master will never come back. My medical skills and my musician skills can save so many people, but I can't save Master. At that time, I thought that there would only be 8 of us left in the Xiaoyao sect. We can't bear the loss of any one of us, no matter what price we have to pay. Her peach blossom eyes were bottomless, as if they were filled with the beauty of the world. She stared at the man in front of her, deep into his heart, engraved into the depths of his soul. Big Brother said that you're looking for these things to change your fate. Changing your fate is as difficult as climbing up to the sky. No one has succeeded since ancient times. But we don't care. Even if no one has succeeded, even if the chance of success is close to 0, we'll still help you. We'll find what you want for you. When you change your fate, we'll protect you. When you're injured, we'll heal you. The Xiaoyao sect will advance and retreat together. We're fearless. Even if we have to go against fate, so what? Clap, clap, clap. A round of applause came from behind. As soon as Mayan turns around, he pounces on her. 6 senior sister, that's great. Luo Yu releases Mayan and glares at Luo Yunxiao unhappily. Junior martial uncle, you're too biased. You only appear in front of 6 sister every time. Saying that, he also complained to Mu Yin, just now, when I was in danger, someone suddenly pulled me up and helped me pass. I was still wondering if Wushang Palace had a good impression of me, as they would always give me treasures. Now that I think about it, it must be youngest martial uncle who secretly saved me. But since he saved me, why didn't he come out to meet me? Instead, he ran over to see 6th martial sister first. This is too unfair. So what if it's unfair? Can you find so many treasures for junior martial uncle, like junior martial sister? There was a ripple in the space, and the figure of a slender youth slowly appeared. Ling Yuxing looked at Luo Yunxiao with delight and bowed. Young martial aunt, you were the one who helped me just now, right? Luo Yunxiao coldly said, don't think too highly of yourselves. I have a purpose in entering the Cave of Chaos. I don't have time to save you. Master, he's talking nonsense. Chapter 35:21. I heard from outside that you would be in danger, so I came in. The giant puppet that wanted to kill Shao Qi was because Master erased the poison in its claws. The ghost flame array that Xiao Wu broke through was because Master extracted the netherworld ghost fire that can corrode the soul. Not only that, there are also second brother and little baby, Luo Yunxiao. Qi 1. Wah. Mei Yin Yin, save me. Master locked me in the spiritual beast bag from the beginning and didn't let me come out. Fortunately, I had expected it and left a secret door in the spiritual beast bag from the beginning so that I could rush out and inform you. Wah 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 wah. Mei Yin, you have to protect me. I'm risking my life by coming out to inform you guys about this. Qi Wen says while desperately clinging to Mu Yin for protection. That was as comical as it could get. Mu Yin can't help but laugh. Luo Yu and Ling Yuxing also can't help but laugh. Little martial uncle, What's the saying? The mouth is disgusting, the body is upright. Hee, sixth sister, don't expose little Marshall uncle. He's used to being aloof. If we know that he secretly cares about and protects us, he would be embarrassed and ruin his image. Luo Yinxiao can't bear it anymore. Shut up. Mu Yin coughs lightly. Little Marshall uncle, you also saw Xiao Bao and second brother? Are they also in Wushang Palace? Luo Yinxiao's face is calm, pursing her lips and not saying anything. Just then, a clear and crisp sound is heard. Then, a small figure suddenly pounces into Mu Yan's arms. Niang Qin. Xiao Bao hugged Mu Yan's neck and happily rubs against it. Niang Qin, I finally see you. Mu Yan is also very happy. Did you encounter any danger? Or were you hurt? The smile on Xiao Bao's face stagnates. He was in great danger, but he was not hurt, because Li Weiran risked his life to save him. But he doesn't want to mention this to his mother. So, for the first time, Xiao Bao stubbornly changes the topic. Niang Qin, I just saw Marshall uncle. Before he can finish his words, he catches a glimpse of Luo Yunxiao standing on the side, and Qi-Wen, who is carefully hanging on Mu Yan's back. He couldn't help but widen his eyes. Marshall granduncle, you really saved Xiao Bao. Luo Yunxiao's expression remained cold and expressionless. But this time, even Luo Yu and the rest could clearly see the uneasiness in his eyes. Mu Yan give the yin-yang egg to Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao immediately understood. He walked over to Luo Yunxiao with the yin-yang egg in his hands. His small hand held Luo Yunxiao's hand and placed the yin-yang egg on his palm. Marshall granduncle, for you. Straightforward and efficient, he turns around and sticks back to Mu Yan's side after giving it to her. Mu Yan couldn't help but laugh again, and she patted Xiao Bao's head in appreciation. As she held the yin-yang egg in her hand, Luo Yunxiao's cold eyes couldn't help but be filled with warmth and emotion. His chest, which had always been cold and lonely, was like a small ball of fire. Ever since he entered the Xiao Yao school, it had started to burn. The small flame grew brighter and brighter, warmer and warmer. It was so warm that he almost forgot the coldness and despair he had once felt. By the way, where is fourth senior sister? All of us have arrived, but why is fourth senior sister still missing? Luo Yu had just finished speaking when she saw the wall opposite her collapse. The red lotus flame rushed out. Just a moment later, the wall began to repair itself. The correct chapter of Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby's Black-Bellied Father, will continue to be updated on Qingdou. There will be no advertisements on the site. Everyone, please bookmark and recommend Qingdou. If you like Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby's Black-Bellied Father, please bookmark. Heaven-Defying Baby's Black-Bellied Father, please bookmark. Chapter 35-22. However, before the wall was completely restored, a fiery red figure dashed out like lightning and landed in front of them. Fourth sister. Haha, you really arrived just as you said. Fourth senior sister, why are you so slow? We're only missing you. Lung Yuma held her long blade in her hand. She did not even see how many people were standing there. She said excitedly, I want to announce a piece of good news. What good news? I'm finally going to fall in love. The whole room was silent. Qi-Wen's head pops out from behind Mayan. Who has the guts to want a tigress like you? Qi-Wen. Lung Yuma clenched her fists so hard that creaking sounds could be heard. Are you tired of living? Qi-Wen's head shrunk back, but her annoying voice still sounded. Yuma, you're so fierce. You don't have any femininity. Be careful that you don't scare away the man that you finally found. Ow, ow. Before it could finish its sentence, a flaming blade aura rushed straight at it. Nani master, save me. However, Mu Yin is all smiles as she leads Xiao Bao away. Luo Yunxiao didn't even look at it. As a result, Qi-Wen fell to the ground with a thud, and her eyes rolled back. Only then did Lung Yuma retract her blade energy and sneered, the jealousy of a single dog. I won't bother with you. Luo Yu said angrily, Fourth senior sister, I think you're mocking me and youngest uncle. Lung Yuma was confused. What did I mock you for? Moreover, even if she had 100 guts to mock Luo Yu, she wouldn't have the guts to mock junior uncle. Luo Yu said gloomily. Now, second Shi Xiang has second sister-in-law. Fifth Shi Xiang has his brother Qing. Sixth Shi Xiang has teacher Mo. And big Shi Xiang and third Shi Xiang are not here. Aren't there only me and junior martial uncle left? This isn't fair. Even a person like you, fourth senior sister, can find a lover. It doesn't make sense that I, who is loved by everyone, and junior martial uncle, who is so handsome and elegant, are still single. Lung Yuma pounced over and grabbed Luo Yu's head. Someone like me? How am I? Xiao Qi, I think you're getting bolder and bolder. Everyone couldn't help but laugh. Where is he? Mayan smiles as she says unhurriedly, the legendary fourth brother-in-law. You should at least let us meet him first. Lung Yuma's face turned red. He is still behind the wall and is too embarrassed to see you. Therefore, I'm here to greet you first so that you can prepare yourselves mentally. Mental preparation? Prepare for what? Is fourth brother-in-law very extraordinary? Luo Yu suddenly thought of something and revealed a thoughtful expression. Lung Yuma called out to the closed stone wall behind her. Jing Yuan, come out. As soon as he finished speaking, a figure wearing a golden-red kasaya slowly appeared out of thin air. A monk. Even though they had already prepared themselves mentally, they were still taken aback by what they saw. Xiao Bao, who is holding Mayan's hand, lets out a soft ah, his eyes revealing a puzzled expression. Luo Yunxiao's eyes suddenly turn cold. His body subconsciously takes a step towards Mu Yin, assuming an attacking and protective stance at any time. However, their strange behavior did not attract the attention of others. That's because everyone's line of sight is attracted by Lung Yuma and Jing Yuan, who are standing side by side. Luo Yu is the first to speak. The person I saw outside the soul cultivation pool was him, right? He, fourth senior sister. I said that your heart has sprouted. Chapter 35-23. Many pairs of curious eyes fell on Jing Yuan. This caused his fair and clean face to flush red. After a while, he said in a low voice, "Greetings." I'm a little monk. As soon as he said that, Jing Yuan realized he didn't know how to address the people in front of him. He didn't know what to do, and his face turned even redder. The little monk had a handsome face, and his eyes were as clear as the purest obsidian. His skin was white and smooth, without any flaws. He looked like he was in his early 20s, but his whole body seemed to be shrouded in the holy light of Buddha that only an enlightened monk would have. But at this moment, he was nervous and his cheeks were red. That distant and hazy feeling of holiness was popped like a soap bubble. She looked indescribably cute and down to earth. The Xiaoyao sect people who were still in shock suddenly became lively. Ling Yuxing asked curiously, "Can monks get married? What's wrong with being a monk? Can't monks return to secular life?" It's okay. If monks can't return to secular life, fourth senior sister, you can find a nunnery next to a Buddhist temple and become a monk together. Padash. An explosive pellet hit Luo Yu's head. What nonsense are you talking about? Luo Yu said calmly. Didn't they say that if you marry a chicken, follow the chicken, and if you marry a dog, follow the dog? If you marry a monk, of course, you can only be a nun. Dash. Damn Xiao Qi. I think you're tired of living, just like Qi Wan. Looking at the Xiaoyao sect people who were making a scene, Jing Yuan's gaze landed on Lung Yuemo without blinking. His eyes were filled with gentleness and love. But soon, the smile on his face slowly disappeared. He held the golden alms bowl tightly. His eyes revealed a painful struggle. A low voice came to his ears. Jing Yuan's eyebrows moved, and he slowly walked to the corner of the palace. Seeing the young man standing there waiting for him, Jing Yuan's pupils shrank. The man was like jade, and the young man was unparalleled. There was actually such a handsome man in this world who transcended gender and the secular world. And this man's cultivation was not lower than his own. But Jing Yuan had never seen or heard of such a person in the Xiuxing continent. Great Master Jing Yuan of the Debiai Temple? Before Jing Yuan could think clearly, a low magnetic voice came. Umipa. Jing Yuan put his palms together and bowed slightly. May I know who you are? He could call out Debi Temple and his Dharma name. It was obvious that the man in front of him had been to the Xiaoxin continent. Luo Yinxiao. Lung Yuma is my martial niece. This short sentence didn't explain any further, but it caused Jing Yuan's heart to tremble. His previous vigilance and doubt instantly turned into nervousness. It turned out that this person was the little martial uncle that UMO had mentioned. He was the only elder left in the Xiaoyao school. If he wanted to marry UMO, it would not be enough to get his master's approval. He would have to go through this person. Luo Yinxiao looked at him indifferently. The former #1 expert in the Xiaoxin continent, the current #1 Buddhist Taoist, Bodhidharma's last disciple, and the successor of the Debi Temple, Great Master Jing Yuan. Are you sure you can marry my martial nephew? Jing Yuan's heart suddenly tightened, and he even held his breath for a moment. The person in front of him knew more than he did, but it was only for a moment. Jing Yuan slowly raised his head. His eyebrows were gentle, but the persistence and determination in his eyes were like a 10,000-year-old rock, without a trace of hesitation. He said, I will ask my master to agree to my request. As for the abbot of the Debi Temple, it is not me. I have never thought of becoming the abbot of the Debi Temple. Chapter 35:24. Luo Yinxiao was unmoved. What if Bodhidharma doesn't agree? Jing Yuan closed his eyes. I will renounce asceticism and leave Debi Temple. Luo Yinxiao couldn't help but be moved by his answer. The people on the floating island might not understand what it meant to be the last disciple of the Debi Temple's Bodhidharma. However, there was not a single person in the Xiaoxin continent who did not know the meaning of this identity. If he were to forcefully break away from Debi Temple and give up his identity as a disciple of Bodhidharma, what would this person face? Jing Yuan pursed his lips and smiled. His expression was bashful and happy. His fair face was slightly flushed. I don't know if my decision is right or wrong. However, I can repay my master and Debi Temple's kindness in other ways. If I give up on UMO, I might regret it for the rest of my life. The first half of his life was rough and bloody, and the second half was peaceful and silent. But there had never been a moment like the past few days when his entire heart seemed to have come alive. He finally had something he longed to possess and protect. It was not compassion, nor was it a primitive desire. Instead, it was genuine excitement and anticipation. Then, what about news about the Shun musicians? Will you send it back to the sect? Luo Yinxiao's next words caused Jing Yuan's entire body to tremble. Her eyes, which were as clear as water, also became as deep as a 10,000-year-old cold pond in an instant. You already knew? Luo Yinxiao looked at him indifferently and said nothing. Jing Yuan's finger lightly wraps the golden alms bowl. In a deep voice, he says, The Shun musician appears, the ghost bell rings. The world was in chaos, and all living beings were doomed. Shun musicians are evildoers who should not exist in this world. Once it fully awakened, it would bring endless calamity to the 3 realms and 6 paths. Master's predictions have never been wrong. I'm a monk from Debi Temple. It's my duty to kill the evil spirits that have yet to awaken in this world. Luo Yinxiao didn't seem surprised by his words. However, the space between his brows was already tainted with an austere coldness. Do you think you can kill me? Jing Yuan sighed softly. If I kill her, UMO will never forgive me. Also, there was also the little boy who was holding the Shun musician's hand. If he was not mistaken, that's the child who was held in Di Mingju's arms during the calamity of the falling sky. He was the acknowledged future successor of the polar domain. She is supposed to be a Shun musician who is the enemy of the world. However, it had such a deep bond with the #1 power of the Xiaoxin continent, the polar domain. Furthermore, she was Mo's junior sister. Jing Yuan's slender fingers gripped the golden alms bowl tightly. However, Master's entrustment eldest brother's teachings, his hellish past, and his missing second brother. All of these make it impossible for him to turn a blind eye to the remnants of the Shun musicians. Suddenly, Jing Yuan raised his head and said in a hoarse voice, "Benefactor Luo, how about we make a bet?" Luo Yunxiao was startled. "What kind of bet?" "You and I will return to the Xiaoxin continent to fight. If you win, I'll pretend that I've never seen the successor of the Shun musicians. Whether she wakes up and brings disaster to the world, or is discovered by others and dies, it's all her own good fortune. If I win, I will inform to Shi Xiang that I have found the successor of the Shun musician, and from then on, I will never step out of Dabii Temple." Jing Yuan's voice was very calm, and his eyes were as calm as stagnant water. But the contents of his words made even someone as indifferent as Luo Yunxiao couldn't help but reveal an expression of shock. Jing Yuan's gaze swept over Lung Yuma, who was discussing with the people of the Xiaoyao sect how to find the little chick. Chapter 35:25. As if she sensed his gaze, Lung Yuma turned around and gave him a bright smile. The girl in red has a picturesque appearance, her eyes like stars. Her smile seems to be able to condense all the warmth and brilliance between heaven and earth. It makes him reluctant to let go, even reluctant to move his eyes away. Is the Shun musician a demon that will bring about a catastrophe? But how does the collapse of the sky end? The moment the spirit bell rings, it doesn't bring hell, but the end of the disaster. A woman that the Emperor of the Polar Domain deeply loves and protects. A junior sister that Lung Yuma trusts all over again. A person that this man in front of her carefully protects. Is she really so heinous that she must die without a burial? Then let's take a gamble. For Yuma, and for the people who will be redeemed from the collapse of the sky. Luo Yunxiao retracts her gaze from Mayan, slightly hooking up her lips. "Okay, I agree to bet with you. Yuma, I'm going back to the Xiaoxin continent." Hearing Jing Yuan's words, Lung Yuma is startled. "So soon?" Jing Yuan looks down at her, his expression gentle as if it could drip water. "I have to go back and report to Master. I have someone I want to spend a lifetime with." Lung Yuma stares blankly at first, then her face turns red and she mumbles, "But we haven't had much time to be alone." "I don't care." What does "I don't care" mean? Could it be that this little monk is in love? Lung Yuma is furious, but before she can speak, she hears a low, gentle, and shy voice in her ear. "As long as we could be together forever, we can always make up for the time we have lost." Lung Yuma's anger turns to joy, and she can't help but gently poke his chest. "Little monk, you usually look honest. I didn't expect you to say such sweet words." Jing Yuan is somewhat at a loss. "It's not sweet words. I intend to..." Lung Yuma is amused. She just thinks that this little monk is so cute. But thinking that the two will soon be separated by two different worlds, there's an indescribable melancholy. Alas, why is her cultivation still so low? Unable to forge the immortal bone, unable to attract the heavenly tribulation. Otherwise, she could go to the Xiaoxin continent with the little monk. As for going directly to the Xiaoxin continent with Jing Yuan as a vassal, Lung Yuma had never thought of such a thing. Lung Yuma was Lung Yuma. She wouldn't become someone she didn't even know for anyone. Moreover, he would not stop his steps to become stronger. Her little monk was so outstanding and strong, waiting for her in another world. Then she would approach him step by step, just like little junior sister. Teacher Mo was so powerful and aloof. However, little junior sister had never thought of completely relying on him. Lung Yuma looked up at Jing Yuan. "Okay, little monk, wait for me in Xiaoxin continent. I promise I'll find you as soon as possible." Jing Yuan nodded slowly and made the most important promise in his life. "I'll wait for you." After saying that, he suppressed the reluctance in his heart and turned around to walk toward Luo Yunxiao. Before entering the chaotic heaven cave, he had already sent a message to his eldest senior brother. If he didn't leave this place for a long time, eldest senior brother would be able to use the brand on his body to determine his location. However, after taking 2 steps, he could not help but return to Lung Yuma. She blushed and whispered, Yuma, before I leave, can I hug you? Chapter 35:26. Lung Yuma froze and was about to speak. Her body had already been pulled into a wide embrace, tightly hugging her. The faint scent of sandalwood entered her nose. Lung Yuma's heart was beating like a drum, and the corners of her mouth were raised. The two of them hugged each other tightly, not saying a word. It was an indescribable moment of peace. Lung Yuma felt pain in her waist. She grabbed the little monk's hand and pushed him away. Hurry up, don't let young martial uncle wait too long. Jing Yuan had to return to the sect, and young martial uncle had to go to the Xioshin continent to deal with, so the two went together. It sounded like a normal reason, but Lung Yuma knew it wasn't. Her young martial uncle had always been a loner and didn't even want to stay in the Xiaoyao sect. How could he go together with others? Even the little monk was gentle and kind on the surface, but he always kept a distance from others. But even if she had doubts, Lung Yuma didn't ask. Because she didn't need to ask, she wanted to believe. Jing Yuan nodded, restrained the reluctance in his heart, and silently turned to leave. But after 3 steps, he had to look back. Silently, he stared at Lung Yuma with a pair of eyes that were purer than black glass. Why was the floating island so far away from the Xioshin continent? After this farewell, how long would it be before he could see Yuma again? Would Master agree to his request? How long could the existence of the Shun musicians be hidden? The further away he was, the more panic rose in his heart. He always felt that this separation was eternal. He always felt that the luck and fate that God gave him was only for a short moment. If he could never see Yuma again, how could he spend the rest of his life in this lonely night? Lung Yuma sighed softly. Suddenly, her feet moved, and her figure appeared in front of Jing Yuan. Little monk, did you do it on purpose? The girl's voice was soft, helpless, and doting, with endless longing and reluctance. A warm, soft, and calloused hand covered Jing Yuan's eyes. In front of him, it was pitch black, and he couldn't see anything. He could only hear the girl's slightly rapid breathing and a feather-like soft voice. I have tried my best to restrain myself, but you still want to arouse my emotions. Little monk, I think a hug is not enough. I also want to take advantage of you, can I? Jing Yuan opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something. The next moment, he felt soft lips on his thin lips. Boom! Brilliant fireworks exploded in his mind. The alms bowl in his hand fell to the ground. Unbeknownst to them, the little monk, who was wearing a kasaya, had already tightly embraced the blindfolded girl. Tossing and turning, that pair of eyes, which had always been clear and bright and seemed to be shrouded in the holy light of Buddha, was now deeply tainted by Gu Yaoang. It could no longer be restored to its original state. This wasn't frivolity, but profanity. And he was willing. Luo Yinxiao and Jing Yuan left together. However, Qi Wen stayed behind. When Luo Yinxiao wanted to take it away, it clung to Mayan's clothes and refused to let go no matter what. Sob, sob, sob. I'm going to be with Mei Yin. Master, can you just let me stay with Mei Yin for a while longer? When you're done with your business, come here to pick me up. Luo Yinxiao frowned. She really wanted to get rid of this annoying spiritual pet. But Mayan chuckled and said, Little martial uncle, you've received so many treasures from me. You wouldn't want to just leave, right? After laughing, she restrained her expression and said seriously, I don't know why you suddenly want to return to the Xioshin continent, little martial uncle. Chapter 35:27. But if it's done, come back to Xiaoyao City and meet us. We really miss you. At that time, they will save the big brother. Xiaoyao school, no one could be missing. Luo Yu complains, yes, little uncle, you didn't go out for so long. We thought you didn't admit that you were a member of Xiaoyao school. Luo Yinxiao looks at the pairs of eyes that are looking forward to her. She can't calm down, and there are even ripples in her eyes, but only last for a moment. She turns around and leaves. Mu Yin and the others show a disappointed look. They can all feel that the little uncle deliberately alienates them. This alienation is not because she hates them, but because she wants to protect them better. but they want to tell the little uncle. They don't need the little uncle to sacrifice himself to protect them. They just want the Xiaoyao school to help each other and never abandon each other. However, at this moment, a low voice comes to their ears, as if a gentle breeze can blow it away. I'll leave Chi-Wen to you. I'll pick him up in a month. Wow. Chi-Wen's nervous heart returns to its original position. She happily rolls in Mu Yan's arms. Master will not abandon Chi-Wen. Chi-Wen can still be with Mei Yin. I'm so happy. He. Mei Yin, I want to sleep with you tonight. In your dreams. As soon as her voice falls, Xiao Bao grabs her by the collar and throws her aside. As he grows older, Xiao Bao becomes more and more mature and calm. Perhaps it's because he's often taught by Di Mingju. He even has a bit of the temperament and coldness of a superior. It's getting more and more rare for him to show such childish willfulness. Mu Yin can't help but touch his head and laugh. She takes out a spiritual beast bag and lets Chi-Wen stay in it. She takes Xiao Bao's hand, and the six of them go to the only corridor at the end of the room. As they walk, she sends a voice into the spiritual beast bag. Little uncle and fourth brother-in-law have known each other for a long time. Did they come to some sort of agreement? Chi-Wen rolled her eyes. How would I know? When Master and the little monk were talking just now. Wasn't I by your side, Mu Yin? Mu Yin hooks up her lips. Did fourth brother-in-law discover my identity as a Shun musician? How did you know? As soon as the words left her mouth, Chi-Wen realized something was wrong. She quickly covered her mouth with her claws. How did you know? In fact, wasn't Jing Yuan's performance very obvious? 90% of the time, his gaze was on fourth senior sister. But occasionally, there would be a moment when a murderous gaze would inadvertently glance at him. In addition, Xiao Bao said that he had seen this monk uncle in the Xiaoxin continent. The meaning of that murderous gaze was self-evident, although Mu Yin has obtained the Shun musician inheritance. However, she couldn't empathize with the kamikaze sect's blood feud. Moreover, he had no interest in slaughtering the entire Xiaoxin continent for a sect that had been destroyed for thousands of years. However, it would be different if someone took the initiative to provoke him. I will not offend those who do not offend me. That had always been her motto. But if the person who wanted to kill her was the man whom fourth senior sister liked, Mu Yin frowned slightly. Chi-Wen pointed at Luo Yunxiao. She knew that she couldn't hide it any longer. So she told her the contents of the conversation between Luo Yunxiao and Jing Yuan. Hearing Jing Yuan's decision, Mu Yan's eyebrows relax, and a warm and comfortable smile appears on her face. This little monk really loves fourth senior sister. He might not be able to betray his sect for fourth senior sister. Chapter 35-28. However, he did his best within the scope of his ability, just so that his fourth senior sister would not be sad and put in a difficult position. Chi-Wen poked her head out of the spiritual beast pouch and said carefully, In fact, I'm staying not just because I want to enjoy your soft and fragrant embrace. Xiaoyin and Mayan expressionlessly says, There's no need to add this sentence. Actually, among the things that Master is looking for, there are two most important items that are known as yin-yang twin hearts. We don't even know what it is, but if we want to help Master change his fate, these two items are indispensable. After a pause, Chi-Wen continued, In this heaven-mixing cave, I sense the aura of the yin-yang dual heart. Mu Yan's footsteps slightly pause. Can you find it? Chi-Wen hesitated for a moment before she gritted her teeth and said, Yes, I definitely can. I won't let Master. It did not finish its sentence. Luo Yunxiao's background and her goal of changing her fate had always been a mystery. Even Shi Qing and Yun Ruhan only knew that he was looking for something to change his fate. However, he did not know why he had to change his fate and how he had to change it. Mu Yin didn't ask, but reached out to touch Chi-Wen's head. As long as you can find the yin-yang twin hearts, I will definitely get it for youngest martial uncle. As they walked forward, they talked about how they came to this place. Mu Yin couldn't help but frown when she heard that Li Weiran was heavily injured in order to save Xiao Bao. Everyone's actions were traceable and had a purpose that could be investigated. But only Li Weiran, no matter if it was his sudden appearance at the rocky hill or his subsequent actions. Mu Yin is completely unable to understand his intentions. And what gave her the biggest headache was Li Weiren had already saved Xiaobao twice. On top of that, he found materials to forge his natal sword. She owed him more and more favors, but she didn't know how to repay him. Fifth senior brother, how did you enter Wushang Palace? Ling Yuxing's face darkened when he heard Luo Yu's question. Then he thought of that Su that gave him a headache. After entering Wushang Palace, Yin Jishu disappeared. However, Ling Yuxing knew that this guy was definitely still in the underground palace. What was his motive for coming to Wushang Palace? Hopefully, I won't have to meet him again in this lifetime. Something is running towards us. Little Bao's fierce shout interrupted Ling Yuxing's thoughts. All eyes turned towards the end of the corridor. It was the sound of hurried footsteps. Fragmented and flustered, it was getting closer and closer. Then, a figure appeared at the end of the corridor. Seeing the scene in front of her, Mayan opens her mouth. For a moment, she doesn't know what expression to make. At this moment, he was ridiculed by Ling Yuxing as saying that it would be best if they never met again. He slowly walked into the main hall at the center of Wushang Palace. In the center of the hall, there was a golden cauldron. The cauldron was covered in complicated and mysterious runes. Yin Jishu walked to the front of the golden cauldron, stroked one of the runes with his finger, and closed his eyes. Layers upon layers of her elegant dress fluttered gently with every step she took. Yin Jishu quickly walked around the golden cauldron. When he opened his eyes again, there were ripples of excitement in his eyes. Her pink lips gently opened and closed, spitting out a few indistinct syllables. Then he chuckled and said, "After searching for so long, I finally found it." Chapter 35-29. Dazzling light blooms from each rune, almost blinding people's eyes. But Yin Jisu's beautiful eyes, which are like the autumn water, were wide open, as if he wants to witness everything in front of him. As the light of the rune becomes brighter and brighter, the golden cauldron is pulled up by an invisible force into the air. Below the golden cauldron, there is an oval egg the size of a baby. Yin Jishu slightly holds his breath, reaches out his hands, and holds both sides of the egg. The next moment, however, there is a cracking sound. A crack appears in the center of the egg, and it breaks into two halves. Yin Jishu's face changes, and he quickly reaches out to take the egg back. It's empty inside, there's nothing at all. Only the dried egg liquid is stuck to the eggshell, exuding a bit of a fishy smell. Ow! Yin Jishu's face shows an incredulous expression. It's not the time to hatch. Why isn't it in the egg? At the end of the aisle, the patter of footsteps is getting closer. Finally, a familiar figure appears in front of everyone. Mayan and the others are stunned. Almost at the same time, the creature on the other side has clearly discovered them. A pair of round eyes suddenly widen, radiating an ecstatic light. Gugu. G. Wow. Mom save me. Brother save me. Uncle save me. Come and save Wang. Woo. Of course, only Mayan can hear this wailing cry for help. But just by looking at the little chick's expression and urgent cries, she can pretty much guess its meaning. However, there's no way for everyone to feel distressed at this time, because the little chick's attire before them is really too strange. They see that it's wearing a small, glittering crown on its head. A golden cloak is draped over its body, and the cloak is painted with a dragon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Little chicken claws, little wings, and all kinds of glittering ornaments. These ornaments don't just look gorgeous. Each one is attached with a powerful spiritual power. Several of them should be used to increase speed, so the little chick can run so fast. Each of these ornaments can be compared to an ordinary artifact, but the little chick is wearing more than a dozen of them. Bang! Little Inghua dived into Mu Yan's arms. It was like a child who had been wronged outside and finally found an adult who could support it. For a moment, he was out of breath from crying. Woo. Mummy, my feet hurt, my hands hurt. Mom, there's a bad guy bullying Huang. The little chick stretches out its paw to show Mu Yan the culprit who hurt it. Mu Yan, it was a spiritual sense tempering magic treasure. As long as it was worn for a long time, the sea of consciousness would gradually grow bigger. If such a treasure were to be auctioned outside, it could be sold for a higher price than a divine artifact flying sword. But her silly son was complaining that the baby had hurt his feet. Muyin is both angry and amused. She and Xiao Bao carefully removed the accessories on its feet and wings. "Who are you?" Right at this moment, a low voice sounded out, and it caused Mu Yin and Little Bao to stop moving. "Please let go of young master immediately. Otherwise, we will have to take emergency measures." The speaker was a man. Chapter 35:30. The one who spoke was a man, but his voice was very strange, halting and not very coherent, as if he was speaking one word at a time. Mu Yin looked up and saw that several men in green had appeared at the end of the corridor. These men's appearances and clothes were almost exactly the same. Only the one who spoke had a red gem pinned to his chest. At first glance, Mu Yin recognized these people. They were the ones who had kidnapped Little Chick. Obviously, these were not people, but humanoid puppets. Seeing these people appear, Little Chick was so scared that it plunged into Mu Yan's arms, crying out, "Guguji! Mama, I don't want to go back." Brother Red Pants said that the bad guys must want to pluck Huang Huang to make chicken soup. "Hoo, Mama, I don't want Huang Huang to become chicken soup. You must save Huang Huang." "Mu Yin, what kind of chicken soup is this? How does that bastard Chi Huang scare this stupid chicken every day?" Mu Yin looked at the puppets in front of her and tried to communicate. "You saw it, my son doesn't want to go back with you." "Guji, not going back." The people were still expressionless, approaching step by step, but the red gem on the chest of the leading puppet still flashed. Thus, those gray, lusterless eyes turn and fall on Mu Yin. A mechanical voice said, "The young master is not of age and cannot recognize a master. Please give the young master to me." Then, a cold hand appeared silently and grabbed the back of Little Chick's neck, about to carry it away. But the fingers couldn't move it. Another hand, as white as jade, pressed on Little Chick, stopping the cyan-clothed puppet's movement. Mu Yin looked up at the unfocused gray eyes and smiled faintly. "Sorry, did you not hear clearly? My son said that he doesn't want to go with you." "Bah." Little Chick realized that he had his mother's support. His little head immediately lifted up and arrogantly spat at the cyan-clothed puppet. "Oomph." A child with a mother was like a treasure. Moreover, Huang Huang not only had a mother, but also a brother and uncles. "Let's see how you bad guys bully Huang Huang." Mayan speechlessly looks at this stupid chicken son who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Now that he was acting so arrogantly, who was that crying coward just now? But no matter how stupid he was still a brat. It was not up to others to make her cry. The ruby on the chest of the green-robed puppet flashed again. His gray pupils turned to Mu Yin again, and he said word by word, "If the young lord forcibly recognizes the young lord as the master before the coronation, the master must complete the assessment for the young lord in advance and open the firmament gate. Life and death were not allowed in the assessment. Are you sure you want to accept?" Lung Yimao frowned. "What do you mean by life and death?" The green-clothed puppet said mechanically, "Pass the test, be born, and form the contract. If you fail the test, you will die." Luo Yu said angrily, "Sixth senior sister, ignore him. Let's go." "What kind of bullshit test is this? I think it wants to secretly harm people's lives." Lung Yimao also said, "We want to take Huang Huang away. He doesn't even want to participate in the assessment. Do you want to trap us to death?" Almost as soon as he finished speaking, rumble, rumble, two loud noises came one after the other, and the ground trembled. The green-clothed puppet said expressionlessly, 1. Return to the young lord. 2. Accept the assessment. At the front and back of the walkway, a stone wall fell down. The correct chapter of Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby's Black-Bellied Father, will continue to be updated on the mobile game bar. There are no advertisements on the site. Everyone, please bookmark and recommend the mobile game bar. If you like Alluring Enchantress, Heaven-Defying Baby's Black-Bellied Father, please bookmark. Chapter 35-31. This narrow passageway instantly becomes a dead end with no way out. Lung Yuma pulls out her long sword and ruthlessly slashes at the stone wall. Sparks fly everywhere. However, the stone wall is unscathed. Not even a scratch is left on it. Everyone's heart sinks. The little chick might be a little dumb, but it seemed to have realized what was going on. It's its existence that put Mom and brother in danger. Only when it's taken away by the bad guys, Mom and everyone can walk out of here safely. However, from then on, Huang Wang will never see Mom, brother Red Pants again. Its big round eyes are filled with tears. The little chick is heartbroken, in so much pain that it wants to die, but it still struggles to jump out of Mayan's arms. Tears fall as it walks towards the direction of the puppets. Gugujiwu, Mom, Huang Wang is gone. You must not forget Huang Wang, ah? Every 2 steps, it turns its head. Why isn't Mom coming over to hug it and say, Huang Wang, don't go? Woo-woo, does Mom really not want it anymore? From now on, Huang Wang will be the world's most pitiful orphan. Mayan almost can't hold back her laughter when she sees its dramatic appearance. In fact, just by listening to the words of the puppets, she knows that the little chick is the young master they are talking about. These puppets will certainly not hurt it. Of course, Mayan will not let these puppets take away the little chick. Otherwise, this little crybaby will be very sad. However, before Mayan can move, she sees a small figure striding forward and picking up the little chick on the ground. No one is allowed to take my brother away. Xiao Bao coldly looks at the puppets and says word by word, I will accept any test. The little chick looks up at Xiao Bao blankly. Then it bursts into tears, its whole head bursting into Xiao Bao's arms. Xiao Bao carries the little chick back to Mayan's side and looks up at her. His ice blue eyes are as clear as the brightest and purest sky after the rain. Nyangqin, you can't let them take my brother away. Huang Wang will be afraid. Stupid little brother Chicky, crying at the slightest provocation and being bullied casually. Xiao Bao originally didn't like it. He doesn't even want to have a brother to distract his mother's attention. But slowly, the little chick laughed and rolled into his arms again and again, looking at him with big eyes full of admiration. Also, his mother told him that the little chick was calling him Big Brother. Unknowingly, he had begun to regard the little chick as his younger brother, a responsibility he had to protect. Now my little brother is crying. As the elder brother, how could he not step forward? There's a smile on Mayan's face as she gently rubs his head. Okay, I won't let them take Huang Huang away. He then looked up at the azure-robed puppet and said, I accept the test. Lung Yumal waved her long saber. Can only one person participate in the assessment? We'll come too. Yeah, we're coming too. Do you think our martial nephew of the Xiao Yao sect can be bullied to the point of tears? Since Huang Wang has been with Mu Yin, he's our Xiao Yao sect's chicken. How can you take him away just like that? What do you think our Xiao Yao sect is? Do you think we're afraid of you? Little chick raised its head and pouted. It was so touched that it almost burst into tears again. Chapter 35-32. Mu Yin, the assessment can only be carried out by one person. The puppet shook its head. Individual or team is fine, as long as you can open the heaven's gate. So, are you sure you want to take the coronation assessment for the young master? After the 6 people nodded, a light shot out from the red gem on the puppet's chest and enveloped them. The next moment, the figures of the 6 people disappeared. Only the little Inghua, who was wearing a small crown and holding back his tears, was left. He flattened his mouth and glared at the puppet. The moment the puppet looked over, he immediately shrank his neck and hid in the corner. Huang Wang, don't cry. Huang Wang will wait here for his mother and brother to come back. Flapping his little wings, the little Inghua showed a resolute and brave expression. The puppet looked at him, the stiff corners of his mouth slightly hooked up. Then the gray eyes rolled and fell on the place where Mu Yin and others disappeared. There was one sentence that he didn't say. Individual or team, it's fine. However, the difficulty of the individual assessment and the team assessment were worlds apart. However, if they wanted to take the young master away, How could they let them get what they wanted so easily? What is this place? After the dazzling red light disappeared, Mu Yin and the others found themselves sent to a strange place. This was a beautiful and magnificent courtyard. Water pavilions, bamboo forests, and a sea of flowers. The gurgling stream surrounded the entire small courtyard, and the pink petals floating on the water sent the fragrance to every corner of the courtyard. The sky was drizzling. The wet weather should be annoying. But in this small courtyard, there was a lingering mood of listening to the spring rain in a small building at night. Didn't they say that we should take the assessment? Why did they send us to this misty courtyard? Mu Yin looked up, and the 3 words, Raindrop Pavilion, came into view. TSK. Even the name of this small courtyard was so poetic and ordinary. What kind of assessment is this? The few of them circled around the courtyard again and again. Almost every corner and room had been turned over, but not a single clue related to the test could be found. But as long as someone wanted to leave this small courtyard, they would be bounced back by an invisible force. Lung Yuma frowned and said, "Could it be that the so-called assessment is to trap us here until we die?" No one wanted to believe this conjecture, but this was the result. Time passed slowly. Soon, the sky darkened. The pitter-patter of rain continued to fall. This small courtyard was still so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. Mayan knits her brows and says, "Everyone should first find a room to rest for the night. No matter what the content of the test is, what will come will come." Although it was said that they were resting, they naturally wouldn't let down their guard. The rooms they had chosen were all connected. Lung Yuma, Mu Yin, and Xiao Bao are in the same room. Luo Yu, Ling Yuxing, and Qin Jiu shared a room. All the doors and windows are pasted with warning talismans drawn by Mayan. A defensive formation was set up in the courtyard. With such thorough preparation, even if a sea-splitting realm expert came, everyone would still have a certain amount of time to react. However, there's still a trace of unease in Mayan's heart when she's hugging Xiao Bao and lying down. She originally didn't intend to sleep. Instead, she operated her mysterious energy, spiritual energy, and immortal energy within her body to generate divine energy, which she then poured into the Tian Mo Qin. The divine energy that she had accumulated during this period of time was almost enough to upgrade several Shun musician skills. She was ready to work hard and fill the divine energy in the Tian Mo Qin to the brim. She would directly upgrade the 7 Swords spirit and improve her fighting strength so that she could smoothly pass the assessment. Chapter 35-33. However, the pitter-patter of rain and the sound of water dripping from the eaves could be heard. It seemed to have a powerful hypnotic ability. Unknowingly, Mu Yin falls asleep. In her dreams, waves of cold assaulted her, causing her to shiver uncontrollably. Mu Yin suddenly opened his eyes, only to discover that the window had been blown open at an unknown time. The night breeze mixed with the drizzle blew into the house. No wonder it was so cold. Mayan looked at Xiao Bao and Lung Yuma, who were still sleeping soundly, and quickly got up to close the window. However, in the next moment, she froze on the spot. She was a cultivator. It was just an ordinary night breeze and drizzle. How could she feel cold? Mayan tries to mobilize the spiritual power in her dantian, but her heart suddenly sinks. No spiritual energy, no immortal energy. He couldn't even use his divine sense. This feeling was like wearing this spirit-locking buckle in Fusong City. "Mother, it's hot." Xiao Bao let out a low moan. Mu Yin abruptly comes back to her senses and promptly picks up Xiao Bao. However, the tentacles were scalding hot. Xiao Bao's cheeks were flushed, and a pained expression appeared on his face. Little treasure. He had a fever, but Xiao Bao had an immortal physique. Unless he was severely injured or had some special reason, how could he possibly have a fever? With a trembling hand, Mu Yin grabs Xiao Bao's wrist to feel his pulse. His brows furrowed tighter and tighter. There was no reason for it. It was just that she caught a cold. However, Xiao Bao's body was also devoid of spiritual power. It was as if he had become an ordinary child. Even if it was just a common cold, Xiao Bao was still so sick that his life was almost in danger. Fourth senior sister, wake up. Mayan woke Lung Yumao up and went to the next room to wake up Luo Yu and the others. However, everyone's condition was not good. They had all lost their spiritual power. Like Xiao Bao, Qin Jiu, Luo Yu, and Ling Yuxing also had high fever. Lung Yumao asked, "What's going on? Is this the so-called test?" Mayan frowns. "I saw a lot of herbs in the backyard that can treat colds. I'll go pick some." Fourth sister, you watch over them. Lung Yumao nodded and held the red lotus soul-stealing saber in her hand tightly. Mu Yin quickly found some herbs in the backyard. She hurried back to the room where Xiao Bao and the others were. Before he could even get close, he heard the arrogant laughter of an unfamiliar man. The prey that Wushang Palace sends over always allows us to enjoy ourselves. But this time, it seems especially tender and delicious. They sent so many at once. Our harvest this time is too great. Big brother, as long as you eat them, your strength will definitely increase by a lot. Maybe you'll be able to leave this place then. Big brother, hurry up and take a look. This little bastard has an immortal physique. The voice of the person who said the last sentence was trembling. It was obvious excitement, agitation, and greed. As long as we devour him, we will definitely succeed this time. Mu Yan's face darkens, and she kicks the door open. The scene in front of her instantly caused the anger in her heart to surge like a raging flame. Unbeknownst to him, there were a few burly men in ragged clothes with ugly faces in the room. He was commenting on the unconscious Luo Yu and the others. Someone had ripped off Ling Yuxing and Luo Yu's clothes and was wantonly appreciating their smooth skin. Their flesh must be tender and delicious. Chapter 35-34. There are also a few people fighting to surround Lung Yumao, their eyes revealing a greedy and evil expression. Their thick and dark hands are already reaching forward. And on the only bed, there's a middle-aged man with a terrifying scar across his face. At this time, someone is respectfully sending the unconscious Xiao Bao in front of him. As if to let him see a little more clearly, the man directly tore Xiao Bao's clothes and flatteringly smiled. "Boss, look, if I'm not wrong, before this kid was infected, he had the highest grade of immortal physique. In the 3 realms and 6 realms. No matter where, this is a rare treasure." As soon as the man finished speaking, there is a movement at the door. Everyone's eyes look towards Mu Yan's direction. Ho! Sounds of cold air being sucked in can be heard in the room. Even the pupils of the big brother, who is sitting on the bed with a cold and mocking expression, can't help but shrink. "Boss, this woman was also sent to the rain listening pavilion this time. Is she our prey?" Prey? If this is our prey, then it's a peerless treasure that is hard to find in the world. Mu Yin turns a deaf ear to the voices around her. She slowly walks to the bed and takes Xiao Bao from the strong man's hands. The strong man was staring at her and drooling. Feeling that his hand is empty, he immediately reacted and subconsciously wants to snatch it. However, the next moment, he feels a strong attack, and his whole body flies out and heavily hits the stone pillar. Mu Yin carefully holds Xiao Bao in her arms, and after making sure that he is fine, she breathes a sigh of relief. She feeds the spirit fruit that she just picked to Xiao Bao. Mu Yin feels the light in front of her dim. She raises her head and meets a pair of blazing eyes full of aggression. The man with a face full of knife scars stares at her, his figure excited and greedy, tyrannical and bloodthirsty. It's like he is staring at his prey with great difficulty. "What's your name?" Mu Yan's gaze sweeps over Lung Yumao and the others who are still lying unconscious on the ground. The man with the knife scars raises his eyebrows and immediately claps his hands. "Bring the guests here." The prey that is in their hands is about to fly away. Several strong men show unwilling expressions on their faces. However, due to the knife-scarred man's tyrannical power, most of them did not dare to act rashly. However, someone couldn't help but retort, "Boss, these prey are the best of the best. We've waited for so long and finally got to enjoy it." No matter how beautiful this little girl is, she's just a grasshopper in your palm. You can play with her however you want. Why do you have to listen to a woman? Before he could finish speaking, he felt a sharp pain in his mouth and blood gushed out from between his lips and teeth. Everyone could see that this man, who was covered in blood, had no tongue in his mouth. The knife-scarred man casually retracted his hand, not even looking at the muscular man whose tongue had been cut. Didn't you hear what I said? Yes, I heard it. The other strong men in the room all turned pale with fright. He hurriedly moved Qinjiu, Lung Yuma, Ling Yuxing, and Luo Yu onto the bed. The knife-scarred man lowers his eyes to look at Mayan, smiling devilishly. Can you say your name now? Muyin examines the bodies of Qinjiu and the others. After confirming that they are only unconscious, she inwardly sighs in relief. Until now, she still doesn't know the purpose of Wu Shang Palace's so-called assessment, nor who the person in front of her is. Chapter 35:35. But Muyin had been through all kinds of crises in both her previous and current lives. Therefore, even in such a dangerous situation, she was still as calm as usual. Before asking for someone else's name, shouldn't you tell me who you are first? The knife-scarred man was stunned. He seemed to have never imagined that this incomparably young and weak woman before him would actually be able to remain so calm in such a situation. The interest in his eyes became brighter, and a cruel smile appeared on his lips. Huang Fuzun, you'd better remember this name. It will be your man's name in the future. Muyin chuckled as well. Her appearance was bright and beautiful to begin with. Her smile could really make everything in the world lose its color. Even Huang Fuzun's eyes flashed with amazement and infatuation. However, there was a hint of mockery in her alluring smile. I'm sorry, but my man is 1,000 times more handsome than you, and 10,000 times more powerful. I really don't fancy someone like you. Huang Fuzun's eyes darkened, but he didn't get angry as Muyin had expected. The expression on his face became even more exuberant. So what? From the moment you entered the pavilion of raindrops and became an infected, you were destined to be my prey. Huang Fuzun stepped forward as he spoke. His face was covered with scars, and he looked horrible and ugly. But his hand was slender and beautiful, with well-proportioned joints. Under his tanned skin were tight muscles that seemed to contain infinite power. When the hand reached out, Muyin wanted to step back. However, at this moment, she felt like her soul was grabbed by a hand. She couldn't move at all. A strand of her hair was lifted. The smile on Huang Fuzun's face was cruel and malicious. There is no pain if you are heartless, and there is no death if you have no desire. Since you're going to be my pet from now on, why don't you cut off your own love? Muyin was dazed. She didn't have time to understand what he meant. Huang Fuzun let go of her hair and put a dagger in her hand. The dagger was ink black from the hilt to the blade. The blade was much thicker than a normal dagger, and there were barbs on the edge. There were tiny holes on the barbs. As long as they pierced into the human body, these barbs would crazily devour the blood in the human body. Huang Fuzun took a step back and said, Go. Kill those who are connected to you. Cut off your bad karma with your own hands. Muyin's complexion changes greatly. She realized that she was losing control of her body after Huang Fuzun said that. He couldn't use his spiritual energy, immortal energy, or divine sense. In this cultivation world where the strong preyed on the weak, the power that weak, profound energy could display was getting smaller and smaller. So much so that she couldn't even dispel the little divine soul control at this moment. Muyin's forehead oozes fine beads of sweat. The hand holding the dagger trembled violently, but it refused to move an inch forward. Huang Fuzun exclaimed in surprise. Not only did he not pass out immediately after being infected, he was able to resist my knight's soul control, to such an extent even though he has no spiritual sense or spiritual energy. He couldn't help but chuckle. He looks at Mayan like he's looking at an interesting treasure. He raised his slender hand and waved it gently. In the next moment, a purple fog shrouds Muyin. Chapter 35-36. Silent Soul, Illusory Mist. The burly man who was watching from the side could not help but exclaim. They looked at Huang Fu Zun in horror, and then turned to Mu Yin with pity. This pretty little girl was really unlucky. If she fell into their hands, she would be eaten. At most, she would let them have a good time before she died. But entering the Silent Soul illusory fog was equivalent to experiencing one hellish nightmare after another. In the nightmare, she would treat all the creatures in front of her as her enemies and kill them all with her own hands. If she couldn't get through the Silent Soul mist, she would die miserably in the illusion. But even if she got through it, she would wake up to see her loved ones killed by her. That would be a more painful feeling than death. TSK. Killing people was just a matter of nodding one's head. Their boss's torture methods were even more terrible than the devil's. Sure enough, the little girl in the purple mist closed her eyes and showed a painful expression. When she opened them again, her eyes were blood red. The jet black dagger was raised high. It was supposed to be pitch black without any luster, but it flashed with a frightening cold light. Huang Fuzun was so excited that the scar on his face trembled slightly. His divine consciousness led Mu Yan's hand to Xiaobao on the bed. "Mother," Xiaobao groaned in a low voice. His misty eyes opened. What he saw was Mu Yan, who was slowly stabbing at him with the dagger. "Mother!" Xiaobao's mind was in chaos. He reached out to hold Mu Yan. His hands were sore because of the fever, but they were so weak. It only reached halfway before it drooped down. "Mother!" Xiaobao's voice was low, but Huang Fuzun heard it. He glanced at Mu Yan and then at Xiaobao, as if he had found something interesting. He couldn't help but chuckle. Then the laughter became louder and louder. He was so excited that he couldn't control himself. How would this beautiful prey react when she woke up and found out that she had killed her own son? He was so looking forward to it. The black dagger was getting closer and closer. Xiaobao also noticed that something was wrong with Mu Yan. He looked at Huang Fuzun, who was laughing. Then he looked at Mu Yan, whose eyes were red and her expression was painful. He realized that his mother was controlled by this bad guy. Mother, look at me. I'm Xiaobao. Mu Yan's movements paused, and the expression on her face changed slightly. The redness in his eyes gradually receded, almost reflecting Xiaobao's shadow. Huang Fuzun exclaimed in surprise. Then he took out a bamboo flute and played it with great interest. The sound of the flute resounded throughout the room. Mine's face once again reveals a pained and blurred expression, and her eyes are once again dyed scarlet. Mother! Looking at the dagger that was getting closer and closer to his heart, Xiaobao could not help but let out a low cry. However, in the next moment, his icy blue eyes suddenly widened. She could no longer hold back her tears, because he saw with his own eyes that Mu Yan suddenly turned the dagger around and stabbed the blade into his abdomen. Mother! Xiaobao doesn't know where his strength comes from, but he suddenly sits up on the bed and throws himself into Mine's arms, tears bursting out his eyes. The sharp blade pierced his abdomen, bringing with it a sharp pain. The black knife swallowed the fresh blood, bringing with it a coldness that was infinitely close to death. However, this pain and coldness also allowed Mu Yan to gradually recover her consciousness. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, they were still scarlet, but there was a trace of clarity in it. Chapter 35-37. His fingers suddenly pulled out the black knife from his abdomen. The black knife had a barb. Pulling it out was equivalent to directly cutting the flesh. Blood immediately gushed out like a fountain. Mother, don't die. Xiaobao doesn't want you to die. Xiaobao's voice was hoarse from crying. His small hands desperately tried to press the bleeding wound, but he couldn't. Xiaobao, who had always been mature and steady like a little adult, cried like a lost child for the first time. He was so helpless, so desperate for redemption. Mu Yan's face was paler than a piece of paper. She wanted to reach out and stroke Xiaobao's hair. But at this moment, the disturbing bamboo flute rang out again. This time, the sound of the flute was louder and brighter, with an overwhelming control of the divine soul and Huang Fuzun's almost trembling excitement. Huang Fuzun said, "I'd like to see how long you can resist the silent soul fog." As the sound of the flute sounded, the clarity in Mu Yan's eyes slowly disappeared. Her bloodstained hands were forced to clasp Xiaobao's neck. The little boy's neck was so thin and fragile. It would break with just a slight twist. Xiaobao's eyes were wide open, and tears kept gushing out of his eyes. Was his mother going to kill him? It was all his fault. It was he who had agreed to take the test on behalf of Huang Wang, even though he knew it was very dangerous. It was he who put his mother and the martial uncles in a desperate situation. If he died in his mother's hands, the martial uncles would also die in his mother's hands. When his mother woke up, how sad she would be. No, he didn't want this. He had sworn to protect his mother. His ice blue pupils were also gradually dyed red and lost focus. And in the center of his forehead, a dark red mark like cinnabar appeared. As the mark became brighter and brighter, it even faintly showed the image of the rising sun. At the same time, Mu Yan's pupils contracted as she clasped Xiaobao's neck. A dazzling silver full moon appeared behind her, sparkling with light. The Tian Mo Qin floated in the air. No one was playing, but it made intermittent tinkling sounds. It forcibly covered the sound of Huang Fu Zun's flute. In Wushang Palace, the little chick anxiously pecked at its feathers with its beak, chirping as it did so. Mommy and Big Brother can pass the test, can't pass the test, can pass the test, can't pass the test. The cyan-clothed puppet, who had been standing quietly at the side, suddenly said, "In this space-time, no one can open the gate of heaven. Even if they survive the infection and pass through the dream, it's still impossible. They will die in the raindrop listening pavilion soon. Young master, it's better if you follow me back." Little Inghor raised its head and glared at the green-clothed puppet with its big, round eyes. "Woof, woof, woof, woof. Mommy and Big Brother won't die." "You scoundrel, Huang Wang will not be fooled by you." The azure-clothed puppet, the red jewel on his chest flashed. The azure-clothed puppet continued to speak in its mechanical voice. "Does the young master not believe me?" With a flick of his wrist, a glazed goblet appeared in his palm. There were a few flames of different colors floating in the glass goblet. The azure-clothed puppet pointed to the silver one. "This is the mommy you mentioned." Then it pointed to the red one. "This is the big brother you mentioned." The flames are getting fainter and fainter, which represents the loss of their vitality and souls. When the flames disappear completely, it will be the time when their souls dissipate. Chapter 35-38. Gee, the little chick emits a sharp cry. Suddenly, it doesn't know where it got its courage from, but it fiercely rushes over, seemingly wanting to peck at the glass bottle and rescue its mother and brother. The cyan-clothed puppet doesn't even move. It looks indifferently at the little chick as it desperately pecks, kicks, and hits the glass bottle in its hand. It even lets the little wings slap its face. "Pa, pa, pa." When the little chick is tired, the cyan-clothed puppet says, "Young master, please look, the soul fire is about to go out. You should give up now, right?" The little chick is originally gasping for breath. It starts to think about what to do in the end with its already dull brain. Hearing the cyan-clothed puppet's words, it subconsciously looks down. Sure enough, it sees the silver and red flames getting thinner and thinner, faintly discernible, almost disappearing. Mother, brother, when the flames go out, their souls will fly away and scatter. The cyan-clothed puppet's words flash through Huang's mind. Its eyes suddenly widen. Mother and brother will die? No, no, it won't agree, absolutely won't agree. The little chick's wings slowly open, its beak moving slightly, spitting out a few thick and vague syllables. These syllables are extremely strange, completely different from the language of the Xiojin continent, the floating island, and even the people of the Xiojin continent. But the cyan-clothed puppet at the head shudders when it hears this sound. The ruby on its chest emits a dazzling light. Somewhere in the Wushang Palace, in a corner where treasures are piled up, suddenly, the ground shakes and all the heavenly treasures tumbled down with a clatter. Finally, two strange threads fly out from inside, floating in the air and swaying gently, making a buzzing sound. If Mayan or Chi Huang were here at this time, they would definitely recognize them at a glance. These two threads are none other than the missing repair materials for the Tian Mo Qin, Little Shang, and Shang strings. Xiaoxin Continent Polar Domain. In the pure Flowers Palace, where Elder Chang lives alone, he is frowning slightly at a compass. The appearance of this compass is very strange. Half of it is beautiful, and it emits a dazzling golden light as it rotates. But the other half is full of potholes, gray and lusterless, as if it had suffered great damage. This compass was called the Chaos River Luo Ming Compass. It was once a top-notch magic treasure on par with the Heaven and Earth Mirror, a sacred object. However, tens of thousands of years ago, it was destroyed by an accident, and now it had become like this. In fact, Elder Chang wasn't good at divination. Back then, he was able to deduce the appearance of Jun Shang's destined daughter and point out the specific location. In fact, he relied on the divination results given by the Hunyuan River Luo Ming plate. However, the problem was that the Chaos Essence River Compass didn't listen to his instructions at all. He injected his spiritual energy into it, but the natal chart didn't react at all. But sometimes, he didn't even inject his spiritual energy, and the natal chart would automatically move. Just like now, the natal chart was buzzing and vibrating, and the needle above was spinning randomly. However, there were no results from the divination. This situation had been going on for a long time. It seems it started after Jun Shang returned from his injury. Elder Chang was deep in thought. Suddenly, the door was pushed open, and Han Chujio rushed in. "Little Jio, what's wrong?" Han Chujio gritted her teeth and said, "Di Ming Ju, this fickle and unscrupulous peacock. He clearly said that he wanted to marry my disciple, but he still dared to go outside and flirt. I really misjudged him." Chapter 35-39. Elder Chang frowned and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? How could Jun Shang be that kind of person?" What do you mean by no?" Han Chujio sneered. "I just went to Lingxiao Hall to get some herbs when I heard that bastard Di Ming Ju wanted to go to Linglong Island." "What kind of place was Linglong Island? Wasn't it the nest of that vixen Yu Yanran? Of all places that Di Ming Ju could have gone, he just had to go see the vixen, and that vixen obviously wants to seduce him. If this isn't adultery, then what is?" "Humph humph. Wait until my obedient disciple enters the inheritance space. I will definitely tell him the true face of Di Ming Ju. Let's see if my disciple still cares about him in the future." Mu Yin had also entered the inheritance space several times after coming out from the crushed stone mound. Han Chujio naturally knows that she is now on the floating island. Moreover, his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. Perhaps in just a few years, he would be able to ascend to the Xiaoxin continent from the floating island. It was also so that Mu Yin could concentrate on her cultivation so that they could meet as soon as possible. So Han Chujio didn't urge Mu Yin to learn alchemy. Generally, Mu Yin will only go to the inheritance space once every 1 or 2 months to receive Han Chujio's teachings. Elder Chang was startled when he heard this. Has Jun Shang already found out about it so quickly? Soon after, his expression turned serious, and he said in a deep voice, "Little Nine, don't mess around. His Highness is going to Linglong Island for official business. If you dare to speak nonsense in front of Jun, your disciple, be careful that I won't be polite." Han Chujio shrunk her neck, but she was still indignant. What business can there be, curse? Chang Lao's voice was low, but he only used one word to interrupt Han Chujio's ridicule. Han Chujio's face was startled. His cute little face showed a different look of hatred and killing intent, which was very different from his appearance. He remembered. Back then, he had smelled the aura of the curse on Yu Yinran's body. Therefore, the fox demon who had been putting on an act was indeed infected with the curse, and it was the curse of bad karma. Han Chujio tightly pursed her lips and slowly said, "Do you need my help?" Elder Chong was about to speak. Suddenly, the primordial chaos river Luo Ming plate, which had been buzzing and vibrating on the table, emitted a dazzling light. This is... Elder Chong turned his head and saw that the spinning needle had slowly stopped. This meant that the primordial chaos river compass was about to show the results of another divination. Elder Chong quickly placed his finger on the center of the natal chart and closed his eyes. As time passed, the needle on the primordial river compass finally stopped at a position. The golden light emitted by the fate plate gathered at Elder Chang's fingertip. Fine beads of sweat began to appear on Elder Chang's forehead. His body also trembled slightly. Han Chujiu nervously came over with a pill in her hand, ready to help. 15 minutes later, Elder Chong opened his eyes abruptly. Their eyes were filled with confusion and disbelief. "Brother, what's wrong? What did you see in the readings?" Elder Chong opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but he swallowed the words that reached his lips. He reluctantly smiled and said, "It seems like a big disaster, but you also know that I'm not good at divination. This primordial river Luo Ming plate was damaged, so I couldn't see it very clearly." Han Chujiu didn't doubt his words. She just curled her lips and said, "Why do you need to worry about this kind of world situation? Just let Di Ming Ju worry about it." Elder Chong glared at him. His expression was helpless, but also a bit doting. Was this the strength of the polar domain, Sovereign Lord? Was this the power of the only immortal emperor in the three realms? He didn't even have the slightest ability to resist his attacks. Mu Luyan cut a sorry figure. His clothes were tattered, and there was a huge bloody hole in his abdomen. Electric sparks were flickering from it. The spiritual power in his body poured out from the bloody hole. At this moment, he was no longer the glorious and mysterious priest Luyun of the Nether Realm. Instead, he looked like a prisoner at the end of his rope. However, even in such a situation, Mu Luyun did not show any fear on his face. Chapter 35:41. It's just that before I die, could I trouble the Emperor to satisfy my curiosity? I thought I hid it well, but how did the Emperor find out that I had something to do with the Falling Skies disaster? Di Ming Ju hooks up his lips, and on his noble and elegant face, there's a hint of a mocking smile. Does the calamity of the collapse of the heavens have anything to do with you? That made sense. That Japanese emperor and master, Jing Yuan, mended the crack in the barrier together. They were clearly about to succeed, but there was a sudden change. A sixth-rank poltergeist ghost appeared for no reason. At that time, you were also there. Mu Luyun was bewildered. He didn't know if he really didn't know, or if he was trying to trick him. Did the monarch discover that I did something during the collapse of the heavens? Then how did you find this base? Di Ming Ju condescendingly looks down at him, then lowly spits out two names, He Qiming, Yu Yanran. Mu Yoyun's pupils contracted slightly. Di Ming Ju's voice is low and cold, aloof and remote, like a god of judgment, without a trace of human warmth. At the time when the boundary of Spirit Rhinoceros Valley was broken, the behavior of the original Valley Master, He Qiming, was very strange. Later, the enchantment broke for the second time, and He Qiming died without a complete corpse. Ben Jun became suspicious and ordered people to investigate who He Qiming had contact with when he was alive. The smile on Mu Yoyun's face stiffened. There's a bit of ridicule in Di Ming Ju's eyes, and he continues. The Linglong Island's master, Yu Yanran, has the aura of the soul-chasing curse on her body, and Ben Jun had once seen a person who was cursed to death by the soul-chasing curse in the Xiojin continent. A few months ago, I was assassinated by a group of people who used curse on the floating island. Things were so coincidental that people couldn't help but be suspicious. Thus, I ordered people to monitor the entire Linglong Island and investigate who they had been in contact with during this period of time. Mu Yoyun's heart was in turmoil, but he did not show it on his face. Instead, he smiled and said, "Even so, The Emperor shouldn't have investigated me, much less this base. The corner of Deming Ju's mouth slowly hooks up, his ice-blue eyes looking down at him from above, carrying ridicule and the clarity of seeing through everything. At this moment, Mu Luyun felt as if all his secrets were exposed to this person. Then, he heard 3 words, Li Weiran. Mu Luyun's entire body trembles. He can no longer control his emotions. He abruptly raises his head to look at Di Mingju. You know Li Weiran? The moment Mu Luyun opened his mouth, he cursed inwardly. The melodious and lingering sound of a pipa rang out. It made Mu Luyun's head start to feel dizzy. He wants to concentrate his mind to resist, but Di Mingju's pressure is right there. It was difficult for him to even stand, let alone resist the hypnotic music. Slowly, Mu Luyun's eyes became blurry and his expression became dull. Di Mingju coldly asks, "Who is your master? What was his purpose? Who are the informants you planted in the polar domain?" Mu Luyun looked absent-minded. He said in a daze, "My master is..." Boom! A loud noise interrupted Mu Luyun's words. The deserted island, which was already riddled with holes, was now completely ruined. Han Yi, Ying Mei, and the others who were originally hiding in the dark rush to Di Mingju's side, surrounding him to protect him. Tong Huinyan, the sect leader, was also among them, hugging a pipa in her arms. She was the one who had just used the music to hypnotize Mu Luyun. At this moment, everyone's line of sight is looking not too far away. There, a man completely wrapped in black clothes is holding the dying Mu Luyun in his hands. Chapter 35-42. Mu Luyun's blurred expression has already returned to normal. Seeing the black-clothed man, his face shows an expression of guilt and incomparable reverence and infatuation. "Greetings, greetings, master." This subordinate did not handle the matter well. Please punish me, master." The black-clothed man's face is covered by a ghost mask, which completely covers his face. His eyes, ears, mouth, and nose can't see anything. He can only hear a muffled, clearly deliberately altered voice. "Polar Domain's Emperor, today's debt will be repaid in the future." Di Mingju sneers and raises his hand. A black longsword appears, floating in the air and making a crackling sound. "You think you can still leave after coming?" The black-clothed man seems to laugh lowly. "Emperor knows that Li Weiran is related to us, but I'm afraid you still don't know his true identity and purpose." Di Mingju says indifferently, "Just kill him as well." He. But what if his identity is related to your beloved woman in the lower realm?" Di Mingju's eyes suddenly sink. The black-clothed man's voice becomes a bit husky. Li Weiran intentionally exposed his whereabouts, so that Emperor can follow the clues and find this base. That way, he will have enough time to achieve his goal. Really good scheming, good methods. Polar Domain's Emperor, if I were you, I would definitely rush to Linglong Island without stopping to find out Li Weiran's background. Otherwise, Emperor will regret it for a lifetime. Before his voice falls, the black-clothed man's figure suddenly ripples like water, smoke lingering in the air. "Where do you think you're going?" Star Wolf shouts and rushes out, slashing horizontally. However, he slashes empty air. "Junshang, should we chase?" Di Mingju's face darkens, retrieving the black longsword in the air, and says coldly, "Go to Linglong Island." "Are we not going to chase the master behind Mu Luyun?" Tong Huanyan, stupid. That's just a doppelganger illusion. Now that he's escaped, do you think we can still catch up? Star Wolf gloomily grits his teeth, about to curse a few times. Suddenly, his expression changes. "Junshang, what happened to your forehead?" Di Mingju is also aware of the abnormal energy fluctuations in his body at this time. His fingers can't help but touch his forehead. His skin is boiling hot, like it's on fire. A sun mark slowly appeared between his eyebrows. Tong Huinyan said in shock, "This is the Leaf Fire bloodline." Response? How is that possible? In this world, aside from Junshang, There is no one else who can activate the Leaf Fire bloodline. My lord. As he spoke, Elder Chong rushed over, holding the mixed essence River Luo Ming plate, which was no longer vibrating. My lord, this subordinate has something to report. Floating Island, Wushang Palace, Rain Listening Pavilion. The wind rustled the hem of his clothes. The pitter-patter of rain had unknowingly turned into a dense drizzle, drenching everyone's clothes. Huang Fuzun stood in the rain and looked at the bamboo flute in his hand. Then, he looked up at the gray sky. There was a look of disbelief on his face. You broke illusion and infection. Huang Fuzun looked at Mu Yin as if she was a monster. It's easy to get out a dream, but how did you get rid of the infection? At this moment, all the strong men around Huang Fuzun were gone. At the same time, the original pavilions with carved railings and jade bricks disappeared. All of this was just an illusion. Whether it was the strong men, the houses, or the pavilions. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.